And here comes Milo, big run out of 4. He's going to be there.
Tristan Martin's there. Cannot count out to 37.
Oh!
The Milo gets burned!
Cabot, where did he come from?
Here
comes Dweck.
A punch from the 33.
It's a drag race.
The Magic Man wins it Auto Club.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller. Yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide. Even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
With 2 weeks removed from a season opener full of storylines along the coast of Daytona Beach, the next stop on the tour to a Season 7 championship sits in the heart of the Nevada desert with more stories to tell and more hands to deal out. Live from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway in Las Vegas, Nevada, we welcome you to coverage of the second race in the 2024 Sunoco Cup Series. Welcome to the heat of the moment where we're glad you're joining us on VSPEED tonight. We're alongside producer / colleague in the booth this evening, Bradley Cooper. I'm Kenneth Bueno. Of course, it's been 2 weeks, Bradley. We've had a lot to digest since the end of the Daytona race to kick off the 2024 season. We ended that race under caution. Steven Stampen, the victor. We'll talk about him and his story going into tonight, as always, here at Las Vegas. But that was a wild and chaotic race from the World Center of Racing. We got to go 1.5 mile racing for the first time, which many drivers call, Bradley, the first real test of how the season's going to play out.
Yeah, that race actually kind of dictating how the points are going to shape up for a lot of the guys that came into this season with all of the off-week changes and drivers trying to figure out how they can react to each other. That race kind of sets the pace for Las Vegas as a whole. And you talked about Stampen here in the pre-race. We got a lot to talk about and unpack before we get live here for 400 miles.
That comes your way a little later. We'll touch on that in just a moment. Let's head first to the schedule for this 2024 season. If you missed out on our broadcast of the Daytona season opener, you wouldn't have seen the entirety of the 2024 schedule. Again, a new change for the new season for the Sunoco Cup Series is that every single race is going to be full length. We kick off at 8 p.m. Eastern every other Sunday, so we won't be running week after week. We'll be running every 2 weeks just to get drivers good with everything and make sure they're not burnt out over the course of a long 20 race campaign that'll bring us to mid-November. But of course, Daytona the classic track to start off any kind of stock car racing season. You head to Las Vegas, probably the first real test at how drivers are going to handle themselves over the course of the year. Then we go short track racing, Bristol, back to 1.5 miles at Texas, and then we've got another super speedway, race 5 at Talladega Super Speedway. So what's the biggest challenge, Bradley, in the diversity of the first 5 races and how that's really going to tell the story in the regular season as far as points is concerned and drivers getting to victory lane with that ultimate goal of making the playoffs?
Well, I think the biggest challenge here is going to be week three at Bristol. If you're not a fan of short tracks, you get a lot of 1.5 miles there prior to this moment and then after, but you've got to look at the big picture. In Bristol, you have to mitigate your damage, get through that race, and if you're not a fan of it, just try to survive. That's all that can be. And by Texas, Talladega, it's more of the same as what we saw in Sonoma. That's another challenge. So there's kind of these asterisks throughout the season, but then we have a huge off season here in May for the final 3 weeks of May. That's another thing that you have to take into consideration for these drivers, because when you take that many weeks off, it can kind of make you rusty.
It can disrupt the rhythm, that's for sure. And in that break, we'll, of course, have Charlotte right after early June. Like you said, Sonoma, Nashville Super Speedway taking place in the schedule late June. Indianapolis Motor Speedway later on. It does get more difficult as the regular season progresses, and it surely will intensify the run for the point standings, which we'll turn to now. And you'd imagine that Steven Stampen, the winner after all green-white checkered attempts were exhausted at Daytona 2 weeks ago. Well, you'd be mistaken. He is back in 4th. Of course, he was the race winner, but did not grab that many stage points, Bradley, a total of 1 if you're thinking between stages 1 and 2. The top of the board goes to Colin Forrester. We'll be watching these standings all season long, especially back to 16th. That'll be the playoff cutoff once we get to race number 13 and around where we end the regular season. But your biggest takeaways, Bradley, after Daytona and all the points picked up by many of them, Fast Banana cars, and a lot of other drivers in the mix too.
I was just about to say that. My takeaway is Fast Banana. Those guys worked well together. They kept themselves in positions, and that's part of why Colin Forrester is leading this race. Those guys worked together to a T, and had the cautions not fell the way they did, they were most likely going to win that race. They were just miles ahead of the competition when it came to working together, figuring out their strategies, the pit stops, all of those things they worked out and executed well. So overall, Fast Banana has a little bit of a redemption here tonight, and I think based off of their speed and how they work together, good chance we're going to see them up front again.
They surely had an emphasization or an emphasized point of getting to the points in stages 1 and 2 over that Daytona race. 3 of the 4 Fast Banana cars ending up in the top 10 in points. Curtis Kelly, the only one that's sort of outside, back in the top 17 or so, sort of tied with that spot alongside Garrett Brown. We still got about 8 or so minutes until qualifying ends, so we do have a bit of time to get through with you before we drop the green flag here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Bradley, of course, 1.5 mile track in Vegas is pretty fun to drive. A lot of bumps, which we'll discuss in just several moments, but this track is always hot. This track always has a ton of grip in itself. These next-gen cars are a bit of a handle to drive, most notably on the long run, and then in the short run, you might have to deal with pack racing. So what kind of difficulty are the drivers challenged with today on Sunday with Las Vegas after the Cup Series ran there just last week?
I think the biggest thing is disciplining yourself to drive this 400-mile race. You look at the race overall, it's easy to get caught up in that pack and just think, well, there's guys beside me, I need to get ahead of them, or drive and overdrive your stuff and use it up early in this race. So you have to pace yourself, stay disciplined, and think about, well, we have stage breaks, we have guarantees that we're going to get tires, and try to keep yourself in a position that when it comes down to that last 20, 30 lap run, you're going to get to the front. That's the main picture here tonight.
And your big point there, tires, that's going to play a bigger factor into this race overall. You go 267 laps, total of 400 miles. You definitely want fresh rubber whenever you get the chance. At a track this hot, at a track this slick over the course of the run, you're going to want as many tire sets as possible. Going to have to be a little smart on how you use them and try to play the role right and cook up a nice play for the end of the race. Here's a look at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, this mile and a half that we've spent the last 30 seconds talking about, located, of course, in Las Vegas, not too far away from Sin City proper in downtown where the strip is at. 1.5 miles this track at 2.41 kilometers, 20 degrees of banking in the turns, 12 degrees on the main front straightaway. Of course, it's a D-shaped four-corner oval, opened back in 1996. Was opened prior to that, Bradley, but not as a 1.5 mile oval. This track, of course, with the 20 degrees of banking, also opens up the opportunity for multiple grooves. That'll be certainly in effect over the course of this race.
Yeah, we love to see multi-groove racing here on VSPEED. We always have. We saw some Chicago land there last broadcast, and drivers able to send it in on the high line and make it work in the middle, make it work down to the bottom late in the run to try to get a last second position. Really and truly, these mile-and-a-half tracks, they hold the test of time when it comes to Kansas, Chicagoland, Las Vegas. I mean, you know, Chicagoland kind of that asterisk, but you get what I mean. And even Nashville Super Speedway has been brought back, and that's kind of an off track, but it's concrete and it's similar to the shape of this place.
Yeah, but Las Vegas is a different beast entirely. You look back in history for the trends, we have never seen a repeat winner here in Sin City if you look back to Season 3. So over the last several seasons, we have not seen a driver go to victory lane more than once here at this mile-and-a-half circuit. We go 267 laps. Full length distance at 400 miles. Pit road speed limit sits at 50 miles an hour. If we do have green flag pit stops, Bradley, that's going to be big. And then you look at tire sets available, 7, a lot over the course of this race. And all the stages, which will play a huge role in point standings, did at Daytona, probably will be tonight.
Well, and the stage points put Colin Forrester up there. They Fast Banana guys just did what they needed to do. And you got Steve Stampen. We talked about it pre-race. It just goes against everything I understand about how NASCAR and points and all of that work. But, you know, at the end of the day, that's how crucial it is to be up front when we hit those stage breaks.
For sure. I mean, we were talking about that. A little confused that the race winner in race 1 wouldn't be at the top. He's 4th going into tonight's race. He is also the defending winner of the last time we were here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway back in Season 6. Steven Stampen, after Daytona, dealt with a torn Achilles, had to get surgery for that on Thursday. He is, though, attempting to run tonight, and with that, will bring in the driver of the number 88 Chevrolet Camaro for dropping the hammer. Steven, of course, we're really happy that the surgery on Thursday went successfully for the Achilles. Talk us through how you're feeling and how the challenges are going to be for you attempting this race tonight.
I'm in pain. I'm just, I'm slow. I can't do anything. There's going to be a quick exit, though. Just try to run a few laps and see how I'm feeling. I was just going to try to get some stage points, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that, so.
That's understandable. I can imagine the pain is still very much alive and well. And after Daytona, a lot of high spirits. Of course, you got a lot of points from that. You should be okay for the rest of the regular season, especially off the momentum of that win. How did it feel in practice as you were coming in to sort of get prepped? Did it feel any similar? Did it feel any different from the last time you guys were here? And obviously, I understand the importance is how your foot is feeling at this very moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, so before I got hurt, last week I was running officials. You know, I won an A fixed, and, you know, I like to use a little bit of trail brake going into the corners to save ties. And, you know, this whole practice session tonight, I can't do that. I'm using my left foot on my clutch as my gas pedal. So my trail braking's done. Can't do that. But no, it feels you know, it's this race is going to be whoever has clean air, staying clean, keeping the nose clean, and just finding air instead of getting blocked and chopped by somebody's bumper. So it's pretty much like it was last season. You gotta take the runs when you can and get clean air and stay up front as much as you can.
Well, nonetheless, Steven, we tip our caps to you for running this race tonight and trying to. We know a lot of drivers would certainly sit this one out, and we were fully understandable if you weren't going to run tonight at Las Vegas. But the bravery, the courage to try and continue to race tonight, even if you don't go the entire 400-mile distance, we're certainly proud of to see you on the track, and we certainly hope that it seems to be okay, and we hope that you have a speedy recovery in the next several weeks leading up to the rest of the season.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I got lucky there was no bone damage or anything. It was a clean tear, if you want to call it that. So surgery went well, and hopefully I'm back by Talladega. I don't think I'll make it to Bristol, but I got my eyes circled on Talladega back full time. So I love all you guys, and good luck to whoever wins tonight.
Much love, Steven. Keep that mama mentality. Keep that mama mentality today. And even if not, we certainly appreciate the time, and we hope you have a speedy recovery and feel better very, very soon. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it, man.
So that's Steven Stampen for dropping the hammer. Going to be supporting his teammates alongside trying to run some laps here at Las Vegas. And Bradley, of course, that's a huge hit for Stampen, who wants to go in this race, obviously 150%, wants to defend that win that he had at Las Vegas in the previous season, where he picked up 2 W's over the course of the Season 6 campaign. But you got to give him a lot of credit for just strapping himself in the chair and trying to run a bit of laps, even if he doesn't go all the way.
Yeah, that's pretty admirable. And I heard he was driving with a clutch pedal tonight.
Yeah.
So that in itself is a whole new learning curve, and he's trying to prep for this race. He's sitting here in about the 20th midfield here. But when you boil it down, these guys want to race. At the end of the day, that's all you look forward to. You look forward to Sunday. And when you have an off week and something happens, it tears you apart. So the optimism to recovery, he's looking to be back here by Talladega. Bristol, in my opinion, not the worst race you can miss. And in fact, with the way that things are going this season, he could afford to miss it as long as it happens early.
And we know, too, that when Steven returns, he's going to be fast, right? He always is fast, no matter what happens. And we certainly hope that Steven has a really speedy recovery. Hopefully he can get back on track soon. Most importantly, we hope that the Achilles and the foot is obviously okay before he can get ready to step back foot inside of a virtual race car. With that, we'll take you trackside and get you through tonight's starting grid for the second race of Season 7 at the Sunoco Cup Series from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where Ross Harlow in the number 3 car takes away pole with a 29.643. He's got the points leader, Colin Forrester, in the number 31 on his outside for the Fast Banana Camp. Inside row number 2 will be Austin Shoemaker in the number 14, pretty fast in practice. Alex Huffman will roll off in the number 10 machine from the outside. Robert Hunrada is set to start 5th, although he will get an EOL for disconnecting after the drivers' meeting ended. Joe Sanchez for Drinkin' Bros Racing, his Chevrolet, starts outside in position number 6. Jessing Whittington in the number 94 Charlotte winner from 1 season ago will be in 7th. Chris Shoemaker on his outside for Prestige Worldwide Racing will roll off from the top 8. Alex Muscarella in the 48 suffered a heartbreaking end to the Daytona race, where it seemed like he had positioning to win. And Fast Bananas Curtis Kelly, Bradley Cooper rounds out the top 10.
Row number 6 is going to belong to Logan Sturgeon. Eddie Smith, VSPEED's very own, is going to start in 12th. 13th spot, Wyatt Brackett with Chris Progar, a guy that was up front a lot at Daytona, just didn't get the finish he wanted in 14th. 15th position, Justin Erb with Stephen Harlow. We got the Stephen Harlow mustache here representing tonight. 17th position, Austin Reedy, Isaac Mock in 18th, and that top 20 Justin winners, James Kunkel.
And back through 21st on back, we start with Steven Stampen, of course, with the Achilles. We hope he's able to run a couple of laps tonight. He's joined alongside by Bill Schoonover. Then Richard Swabley, Jonathan Cofield will be 23rd, 24th. Aaron Adcock, Justin Hendry will be 25th and 26th. Back to row number 13. Garrett Brown, Dustin Reeves, Kip Easley, and Dakota Curtis through the rest of the top 30, and you'll see the rest of the grid scroll through on the bottom of your screen. Ross Harlow, Colin Forrester on the gas to the green flag, and we are racing from Las Vegas. the stripe to complete lap number 1. Colin Forrester, Alex Huffman fighting through second and third. Looks like Sanchez and Austin Shoemaker going in the head-to-head fight for fourth at the exit of turn 2. Shoemaker looks to win that fight coming on of turn 2 into the Nellis straightaway. Will clear exiting turn 2 and back to turn 3. And this is something that we'll talk about over the course of the race, Bradley, is the different amount of lanes you can utilize here at Las Vegas. And of course the draft. These next-gen cars certainly can suck up right behind another car, and it could create for a long line of draft pack racing where you run the outside, you run where everybody else is, and you'll take all that draft right around the competition on the inside.
But another factor here with this car is you get up there into the dirty air, they call it the bubble on this car, and when you get within 2-3 tenths of the guy in front of you, you have to kind of change your line. And thankfully Las Vegas allows you to do that, where you can come up the corners a little bit and still get a good drive off to try to complete your pass. We'll go into later in the season, especially at Nashville, where there's kind of a single groove racetrack, and you'll see these guys really struggle trying to get around each other.
Well, over this run, it's going to get obviously difficult for drivers to even make the corners. It'll get very loose or very tight depending on how they drive it. And of course, at this hot track temperature where it sits at 101, if it doesn't get better, it certainly will become an ailment to the tires and will become much more difficult to drive all around. And when you're losing so much throttle, we're going to see, of course, drivers get loose. It looks like Chris Progar, a bit slow there at the entry of turn 1, backed out to let basically everyone by. I'm not sure entirely, Bradley, whether this is connection issues that Chris Progar is dealing with, because he just let the entire field through and now starting to pick up speed.
Yeah, I think he was having a blinking problem and he had to pull off. Maybe track stewards told him that he was having a big issue, and so courtesy getting the best of the 7 car, but kind of him to move out of the way there, and unfortunately it's going to set him all the way back to 39th position. Large field here tonight, and they're single filing out. Surprisingly, not seeing a lot of single or a lot of multi-groove passes or moves. They're trying to take away the laps here, coming up on 7.
We're also not witnessing a lot of draft-heavy racing. A lot of times at Vegas, specifically in the A-fixed official racing throughout the week at Las Vegas, a lot of drivers were in huge packs on the outside lane. You see them basically nose to tail, and it looked like a super speedway race just at a smaller venue, but we're seeing a lot more separation here. Top 3 have pulled away from 4th place, Austin Shoemaker, who's tailed by Joe Sanchez, and it starts to get a little more competitive around the top 20, specifically the back half where you were looking at Justin Erb in the 20, but this is really the only competitive battle inside the top 10. Sanchez and Shoemaker, and there's a look back at Erb, who's going with it with Isaac Mock, Garrett Brown, and Austin Reedy through the top 16, where they're a little more packed in together.
And this might go back to the point I made at the beginning of this race. You've got a long way to go, and you can't finish first if first you don't finish. That's a very wise saying. We've heard it a million times, but these guys take it to heart. And to single file out here early in the first 10 laps, it's kind of what you got to do. You got to get the bearings straight, make sure this car is ready to drive, and see what it's capable of after you get some of that fuel burned off.
And there's a look on board shortly with the Justin Erb number 20 machine ripping the high line here in 1 and 2. One of the only drivers to experiment up there so early on as of lap 9, and witnessing the battle that was developing right in front, where you see the likes of the 47 of Isaac Mock, and then of course the 96 of Austin Reedy, part of the 3 of 4 Fast Banana Toyotas that exited Daytona in the top 10 in standings. Reedy finished a total of 14th place, had a really back and forth evening, but Reedy has had a good track record going into Vegas, Bradley Cooper. He's finished on the podium 3 times in the last 3 races here at Vegas, including a win that came the way of Season 5, where it was a 200-lapper and basically closest to the distance that we are running here tonight. So Reedy is a driver certainly to watch out for. He's led a ton of laps over his experience in this series at this track. And so far, it's surprising to see him start so far in the field, back in 17th, and also just scrapping through the mid-pack.
And he's taking him almost 3 wide there, offset, ripping the high line. And another factor of this track is that you're a lot faster in the short run when you run that high line. Now he takes it to the bottom. He's just getting him anywhere he can get him.
Look on the inside of Justin Winters in the 22. Wyatt Brackett, the Fast Banana teammate, going to be right in front. So Reedy will have some extra assistance as they try to attack on Garrett Brown entering turn 1. So this is going to be the fight for 13th on the racetrack. Next side-by-side battle creeps up a little further forward, and it's for 10th place. Jesse Whittington, that silver Chevrolet on the inside versus the red, white, and blue colors on the number 26. And it's a beautiful number from Logan Sturgeon, Bradley, because that reminds me directly of who? Jamie McMurray, when he used to drive the 26 Irwin car. I'm pretty sure, if you look back in memory, he had a whale of a save either here at Las Vegas or another mile and a half, but I'm pretty sure it was here at Vegas with the COT cars. That's just the first memory that comes to mind, and a great run by Logan Sturgeon. Early on, picks up 2 spots since the drop of the green. He's up inside the top 10.
Yeah, quite a few drivers moving up a little bit of positions, and just to talk about him, because we haven't been able to pick any fun at him. He's had a pretty solid start to the season at Daytona. Eddie Smith in 8th position, up 4 spots. Up 4 spots for Curtis Kelly as well in 6th spot. So a few of these guys on the move, but the top 4, they're very spread out from the rest of this field.
And the top 3 have broken away from everyone else. And Forster, Harlow, they have left Alex Huffman in the dust quite a bit, but they have a huge gap, trailing back to Joe Sanchez, who beat Austin Shoemaker for what is 4th on the racetrack over the first 14 laps. And as we looked at our race analysis, you looked at the stages. First one ends at lap 80, the second one at lap 165 before we will run the next 102 laps under green if we can to lap 267 and the end of the affair here at Las Vegas. So you're looking at a lot of time from here to then for stage 1, and here to then we've got a battle for the lead. Forrester on the inside of Harlow off of turn 4.
Taking it down to the bottom of the racetrack. Forrester with that confidence in the points lead. Trying to get that lap led. Doesn't get it that time by, but side by side again. But as these guys race side by side, look who's creeping into the picture. Alex Huffman in the 10 car to the outside now.
And Huffman will have a big run out of turn 2 down the Nellis straightaway. Forrester backs out of line, so decides it's just a better judgment to stay behind the race leader versus remaining door to door and allowing Alex Huffman to potentially take a 2-for-1 entering the corner. Forrester, of course, piggybacking off of a fantastic Daytona opener where he finished inside the top 10, led 34 laps after starting in P4, and one of the commanders off of the Fast Banana camp that were able to grab so many points at the World Center of Racing. And a nice look on board with Huffman, who dives into 3 and 4, looking for a bit of headway here on Forrester and Harlow. But the big thing about these top 3 as they're running away, Bradley, is of course they're probably fast as always, but saving their stuff. They want to make sure that they don't burn their equipment so early on over the course of what's going to be a heavily contentious 80-lap stint to the end of stage 1. But as you get closer to the drivers in front of you, most notably for guys like Alex Huffman, you're going to experience all the dirty air that's picked up from the top 2 leaders. So how effective is that in drivers alternating their strategies, alternating their lines, and most notably looking for a bit of clean air as we look back at a huge battle further back, Jonathan Cofield in the heart of it.
Yeah, I was, while you were asking me that, I saw the 58 car drop about 7, 8, 9 positions, and they're turbulent back here. I tell you what, they're 3 wide going out of 4. They're back to each other's bumpers. I'm interested to see exactly what happened to the 58 car, but this battle's still ensuing. And he went from about the 19th position back to 30th.
And look who's in the middle of all of this. If you look further up the road, you'll see the number 12, Lawson Peel in 28th, working his way up through the field. That's our back-to-back consecutive Sunoco Cup Series champion, having to dig his way through the trenches. And this could get really, really messy in just several laps because there were 2, almost 3 wide. Peel will have the clear entry into 1 to go underneath Richard Swavely and move up to what will be still 28th after starting in 37th. But you're right, all this pack racing, that's what's creating the most dirty air. Side by side, 3 wide, you're taking up so many lanes across the 20 degrees of banking in the corner. It can get so much more difficult to steer the race car. And speaking of that, Swavely loose out of turn 4.
Richard Swavely gets it back under control with a car in the wall there in front of him. That's the one of Justin Hendry. A safer barrier entry, just a little bit deceitful there for the one car. Now the 12 of Peel is going to get to the inside, going to take him 3 wide into 3.
Peel's going to look on the bottom, and a nice one indeed. Peel will get the position, a 2 for 1, entering turns 3 and 4. And will get the position, so he'll move up and continue to punch his way through the top 25. I'm trying to look to see exactly what might have happened to Jonathan Cofield, because the rookie driver, Bradley, has taken his Chevrolet to pit road, and I think I may have found the diagnosis. It was on lap 18. Justin Erb in the middle 3 wide got loose off of turn 2 as Cofield was sliding up. Cofield went hard into the outside wall, and that's a big hit, Bradley, because that's a lot of totaling damage dealt to a Chevrolet and to a next-gen car. So Cofield will drop 1 lap to the leaders. There they are, out of 4, entering 1. Jonathan Cofield with a big hit early on.
Yeah, he's going to lose a lap, and that's an unfortunate situation for him, but still plenty of time, and we've got that guaranteed stage break. So if he can be in that situation to get some of this back, he's actually 2 laps down now, according to my timing, but he can get some of this back. These guys racing a little bit harder here up at the front. The battle for the lead heats up even more. Huffman got around the 31 of Forrester.
And how about 4 wide for the battle for 10th? Eddie Smith and Austin Shoemaker directly in the middle. Jesse Whittington and Mario Miranda escaping the mess. That got really close on the tri-oval. Miranda took it at the bottom 4 wide. They all kept it clean. I don't know how they did that.
Let's get a good look at it here on the VSPEED instant replay. Looked like Smith got a little bit pushed up the track, and big momentum for the 94. Took him all the way into 1. They made it.
That is close. And the 14 backs out of line. Obviously didn't want to be in the middle 4 wide, let alone 3 entering the corner, but remains alive inside the top 15, rolls in 12th. And a beautiful, beautiful job by all 4 of those drivers to keep their cars collected, because it can run out a lot of space, Bradley, especially when you're going 4 wide entering the corner. Miranda is diving in from under that white line at the tri-oval. That can get immensely sketchy, and fortunately they all made it through, and Miranda is the biggest mover so far tonight. The Oklahoma native up from 31st to the top 10.
Yeah, in just 26 laps. That means he's passing 2-3 cars at a time, and you saw it right there. He got 3 cars in that one move all the way to the bottom of the racetrack. Now Eddie Smith's going to challenge him on the inside. This battle, a little bit of movement back there. I think that was Austin Shoemaker almost making contact with Wyatt Brackett as they exited turn 4. But we go back up here with Eddie Smith. He was peeking to the inside of Miranda there for a second. These guys have been pretty calm inside the top 10. So now the wake of the water, it settles down here.
They had a tsunami. They were rum shaking all over the top 15
Yes.
until they all settled it out. So that, I think that 4 wide move certainly told everyone, hey, maybe we shouldn't be racing this hard. Let's calm things down quite a little bit. But the intensity up front is heating up. And you brought up the point, Bradley, of Alex Huffman making his move through the top 3. He got by Colin Forrester, and off of turn 2, he is slowly creeping up on Ross Harlow's number 3 Chevrolet Camaro, one of the 2 drivers Huffman is out of the newly formed Allen's Legacy Racing for Season 7 of the Sunoco Cup Series. Harlow rolls high, Huffman down low, looks for a run out of 4, could not convert.
Almost got the run there, and the guys behind them starting to creep back into this picture. Remember, the top 3 had broken away from this pack, but Curtis Kelly, Chris Shoemaker, Joe Sanchez, they're within striking distance with under half a second here, and they're still trying to decide who's going to be in this top 5.
Alex Huffman, who finished 18th in the Daytona race to kick off the season, is looking for a way better affair tonight from Vegas. And Harlow slipped up, washed up the corner, exiting turn 4. And here comes Huffman. A dive on the inside to make it the first proper lead change of the night from Las Vegas. Cross of the stripe to lap number 30. Huffman on the bottom.
He almost got him in the entry of 1, but now he's on that line where the 3 of Harlow can pinch him down and not allow that exit. You see right there off the back of 2, the 3 car is going to have the advantage. And now as they go into 3 and 4, a little bit more of a wide open corner, but again, Huffman not able to run his line. And now here comes Colin Forrester almost to the bumper, almost 3 wide again. Across the line for 3. They're going to try it 3 wide into 1.
And he clipped the back bumper of the 10, exiting 4, had a bit of contact, moved underneath, and he is under for second place. Will not get the run out of 2. Harlow a bit loose off the second corner, down the Nellis straightaway. Curtis Kelly and a bunch of others through the heap of the top 5 are starting to slowly crawl back in the mix. Huffman again back to the inside to fend for the top spot, and a beautiful look off the back bumper of Ross Harlow's number 3 remains holding down the fort, but Huffman is breaking down the defense. We are 3 wide entering turn 1 as the 48 makes the move on the bottom.
Muscarella backed out of that. He allowed the 55, cut him a break. Sanchez able to get his line, but you can see they're starting to clog up here. As soon as those front 2 started racing side by side, they got extra crazy behind them.
That's exactly the philosophy that Forrester had employed a little earlier on in this race, right? You think of the move he made under Ross Harlow, a look at the race lead, but saw that they were going side by side for too long, understood that if he remained door to door with the leader, everyone else, including Alex Huffman, would start to creep up into the mix. And now that the 10 has fully ignited the battle for the lead, it has opened the door up severely. Now Curtis Kelly, Joe Sanchez, Chris Shoemaker, Stephen Harlow, Muscarella, Jesse Whittington, and Mario Miranda making it 10 cars under 0.6 of a second within each other. They are all under a blanket. Back to turn 1.
On board here with the 71 of Curtis Kelly. He's up 5 positions on the back bumper of Joe Sanchez, just waiting for one of these guys to make a mistake as they come off of turn 2. Eddie Smith's starting to creep up into this picture as well. Those 10 cars getting tighter and tighter. Now it's going to be 11.
And here's Miranda, that 99 Toyota sweeps down low. He enters the top 9, looking for the run out of 4. Will get it on the number 4 car of Chris Shoemaker, ahead with Muscarella, that Cobalt Chevrolet up at the very top to turn 1. How about the run from Miranda? And Bradley, this is going to be a huge statement race, even if Miranda does not get to victory lane. We know exactly how Daytona fared for him just 2 weeks ago, where he started in second, led 41 of the 200 laps and 500 miles scheduled at the World Center of Racing, came up empty with a 37th place outing after being involved in the big one entering turn 1. So how mentally does that affect you as a driver after the first race, and how do you try and lock in like Miranda's doing right now to make a statement for the rest of the field as he still remains in the top 10, moving up to 8th?
They have to rebound, and while we were talking about that, there was a pass for the lead. The 31 takes it over, not to sell that short, but Miranda situationally had the car, he had the team. It just all fell apart there after the second stage, and you know, you never have a good day when your car ends up end over end. So this is the race where he can prove, and to everyone, he's proved it before, that he's the guy that can win these races and get this championship. And right now, it's kind of been, for the guys that have had success in the past, it's been a hard start to this season. Lawson Peel, the 99 and Miranda, they did not have a good finish at Daytona.
Yeah, talk about 37th for Miranda, even worse for Peel, who was 1 spot behind him in 38th. Alex Huffman has sort of drop-kicked through the top 10 as his car is starting to fall off quite a bit. Joe Sanchez has settled nicely into second, got around the 3 car of Ross Harlow, and in turn, Alex Huffman, who was at once fighting for the lead, starting to fall back through the midst of the top 10 and might be under fire for 9th place if he lets more time up to the 48 of Alex Muscarella. Miranda debuting the victory fuel colors on his Camry and trailing right behind Stephen Harlow in the number 33, first rookie driver inside the top 10 that is not Alex Huffman. 2 yellow striped cars inside the front runners here at lap number 40, which is good news for them. And then, of course, you have Curtis Kelly in the 71, one of the fast banana Toyotas, making a statement early, has run nicely into the top 4, and a couple of drivers just brushed the outside wall there out of 2.
We go a little bit deeper into this pack. It's starting to spread back out. You got guys that maybe conserve some tires early on in this run, starting to fall back through. There's Jesse Whittington actually bringing it down pit road. This looks like scheduled stops for the 1 car as well.
And this is directly halfway through stage number 1. So as we cross the stripe, lap 40, we'll have about 40 laps to go. Harlow understood he was falling off quite a bit. Comes down pit road with the fellow Chevrolet of Jesse Whittington in the number 94 car. And that's a full lock Racing Chevrolet in for Whittington, Harlow in for dropping the hammer. They both will put up the jacks and get 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. Also down the lane will be the 33 of Stephen Harlow, and we'll be joined by the likes of Chris Shoemaker, I believe a couple of others that will sit right behind them. Indeed they do. Steven Stampen in the 88. You also have Robert Hunrada, who got an end-of-line penalty to kick off this entire race on lap number 1. So at this moment in time, Bradley, it appears everyone wants to create a half-and-half strategy where they come in now and around lap 41, they can at least make the rest of the 40 laps up until the end of stage 2. But it's all about how these guys will affect the strategy too, Bradley. How do you do that if you're everyone staying out, and how long do you stay out before calling it quits on this run?
Well, you saw the 3 car who led a lot of these laps to begin this race. He's going to kind of force the hand of this top 10 to come in a little earlier. I wouldn't push it too far because now you're maybe on the advantage, but these tires have been used up quick. We look at the fall off here. We're talking about over a second. 1.2 for the leader, Joe Sanchez, as he takes it over from Forrester. His best lap at 30.1. Last time by at 31.3. So, you know, for every lap that the 3 of Harlow's out there, he's making up a second on you. And when you cycle through your pit stops, are you going to be able to make up that amount of time?
And also, too, when everybody else cycles through on fresh rubber, how much of an advantage will you really have? And the answer probably is going to be none, really, at all. You look at Wyatt Brackett, who's back here in the number 30 machine, just in the middle of this pack, as we were looking at Sanchez and Forster in that fight for the top spot. Eddie Smith brought himself down to pit road along with Justin Urban, the 20, the 54 of Brandon Banks is in. So at this juncture of the race, everybody has elected to come down pit road. And what's going to be pivotal, Bradley, from our race control, Josh Lokenvitz, is that pit lane will close 2 laps prior to the end of the stage, most notably at lap 78, prior to when the caution comes out at lap 80. So at this point, it's going to be all about pulling the trigger so you don't have worse tires coming down to the end of the stint. Curtis Kelly, Wyatt Brackett, and Lawson Peel make that Austin Riddy the 4th car, along with Garrett Brown, make that the 5th, now a 6th car right behind, and even more so, tailing down pit road at lap 45.
If easily in as well. A few drivers look like maybe they had some problems down here on pit road. Trying to get a little bit better angle of the 8 machine there. And you want to talk about guys that were in and out. Several different drivers are in and out of this pit stop, but the 75, I think, had some problems the first time trying to come down pit road. He does get it this time around. That's Charles Feltz in the 75. So sometimes you get into a scenario where I'm ready to pit and guys are to your inside or outside and you can't come down.
And also, too, it's a really difficult entry at 50 miles an hour. You're going from about 165, like we see Colin Forster do at the exit of turn 4, and you're going to have to get to that measly 50-mile-per-hour pit road speed limit. And while you're braking and turning and you're transitioning through the banking all at the same time, it could become insanely difficult. And that's why, Bradley, a lot of the mile-and-a-half tracks where you have to come down pit road under green, a lot of them have their own unique and mostly difficult challenges of getting onto the lane safely and, of course, efficiently without losing a lot of time. Thankfully, everyone so far who has pitted, none of them have pit road speeding penalties or any of the sort. So we don't have any drivers that will lose a ton of time on pit road from black flags alone. But now we have our full-on mix, and that's why pit road strategy is a lot of fun, Bradley, because you have all the guys on old tires, all the guys on new tires, and the mix of 3, 2, maybe 4 wide moving through the pack and making sure you don't get collected in just a small mistake.
You can see it right here. The guys on faster pressure tires trying to work back through. This is Alex Huffman, who was in the top 3 a moment ago. He's back in 22nd position, going by the 1. Actually, that's the 16, I believe. Nope. So the 1 car, some problems here. Justin Henry actually staying out, and he's 49 laps rather on this stint. There's 5 cars still left on the racetrack. Colin Forrester, Dakota Curtis, Justin Hendry, Sean Kalis, and Brad Fuller. So you asked me earlier, how long do you stay out? Well, this long. Colin Forrester coming down pit road.
Two of those cars in the top 5 to stay out this long. Hendry and Fulham, a part of the RTR Motorsports Ford camp. 19 of Fulham is in, so is the former race leader in Dakota, or rather Colin Forster. Dakota Curtis is going to stay out an extra lap, and the same will be dealt for Justin Hendry. Sean Kalist in the 90 is going to join their fray for TOW Racing. We've got a lot of different strategies at hand, but really, Bradley, this is to turn around the stage, right? You're going this long because if you can get a fresher set of rubber than the mainly competitive guys at the opening stint of the race, you could probably find yourself in decent enough track position to where you could gain some of those points at the end of stage 1. How many times did we see at Daytona drivers utilize different strategies for pitting and, of course, making sure that they would put themselves in the right place to get all the points? You don't need to win all the races to be at the top of the point standings. It's all about where you put yourself in these stages. Curtis taking that in mind, especially after all of the craziness that happened to him at Daytona just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and we saw that on the points bracket with the race winner and Stampen only 4th in points. But go back to how all of this works, and the mentality starts from lap 1. You've already planned this out, and because this race is state green, you can stick to that plan. You come into this race with, well, there's factors of other cars. There's guys that can have problems. Well, right now, it looks like the entire field is on point, and they're executing that strategy as we have about 26 cars left on the lead lap. This field very spread out. I look to see maybe a few more drivers pull some more crazy moves as the race progresses.
Well, there are only 2 cars that still need to pit, Curtis and Kalis. Those 2, Harlow holds on to what's going to be the net race lead at the moment. And here's a 4-car pack from 4th on back. Jesse Whittington leading the group. Muscarella right behind Stephen Harlow in the 33, running 3rd in that group, and Chris Shoemaker in the 4. All of them, of course, right behind Harlow, who's sitting patiently for Kalis and Curtis to inevitably come down the pit lane. Ross Harlow finished 2nd at Daytona 2 weeks ago behind the teammate of his, Steven Stampen, in the number 88. So Harlow came away with a fantastic points outing where after the first race, he ends up 6th. There's a look on board, and on the bottom right of your screen, the camera as Harlow is steadily focused on running laps here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Is there a concern that he has for the 4 drivers in a pack behind him and then all those others on fresher sets of tires? Sanchez, Peel, Miranda to come to mind. If you're Harlow, are you focused on any of that, or are you more so worried about what's going to come down between Curtis and Kalis and how you're going to at least keep the lead intact by the end of the stage?
Based off of that first run before pit stops, I think he's more concerned with what did I do wrong there to lose all those positions. Maybe overdrove it a little bit. So I think he is concerned with this 4-pack of cars from 4th with Whittington, Harlow, and his brother, and Muscarella. These guys, and I would especially be frightened of this 99 car from what he's been doing all race long. Loss of Peel as well. These guys came from the back of the field, and they've shown that they have longevity. So yeah, the stage break's coming up here in about 25 laps or so. But you gotta think, this is not the part of the race where you want to fumble too early.
And here's Miranda looking underneath the 2 Drinking Bros Racing Chevrolets. How about 3 wide? Entering turn 1, Miranda will have the headway on the 55. Still going contentiously with the 12 of Lawson Peel, and that's great positioning by the DBR Chevrolets because Lawson uses the push from the 55 to clear ahead from 8th. And when you're looking at Peel and Miranda alongside guys like Sanchez and guys inside the top 10 like Ross Harlow and Jesse Whittington, a bulk of those guys finished in the top 10 the last season when we were here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Mario Miranda, who was the pole sitter that race, finished in 6th. Ross Harlow, who is the net race leader now, ended up in 7th place. Lawson Peel came home in 8th, and Jesse Whittington finished right inside the top 10. So these are guys who know what it's like to run well and can convert a pretty poor start to a pretty great finish, and they are in the heap of the pack looking to get around Stephen Harlow. Now Alex Muscarella, that is going to be for 3rd on the net positioning. Meanwhile, you were looking up there, Bradley, a nice look from you. Sean Kalis grabbed the lead from Curtis.
Yeah, he did. He did it up on the exit of 3 and 4. I have to say, this 90 car is showing a lot of speed in the long run, and take notes, because if he can stay out this long and continue to turn these laps, he might be one of those factors that he'll have an extra set of tires in the pits. That's another thing that we got to think about is we have a lot of cars on this racetrack that are pulling different strategies, but if you can go with an extra set and we get a late caution, the 90 team could look like geniuses.
Could look like strategy masterclasses. Curtis with a pretty sketchy entry into turns 3 and 4 heading to pit road. Kalis is going to hop on the brakes. He was about 8.5 seconds ahead of Harlow, who sits in second place. So Harlow should assume the race lead by at least 3 seconds over Jesse Whittington back in the 94 car. Lawson Peel has moved his way nicely up to third and is attacking on Whittington. So for sure here, Bradley, Peel, Sanchez, and Miranda on only 14-lap-old tires can take advantage here with 20 laps to go in the stage.
Yeah, plenty of time to do it, and only half a second in front of them here. Now, there are factors where they start racing each other, and Harlow's able to pull away, but right now, all pretty much single file. You see Peel kind of assisting the draft. There's the 99 of Miranda to the outside for the 4th spot. Trying to get by Sanchez right now. That's kind of what you want to see if you're Harlow right now, is these guys get side by side. That's probably the only way you get out of this situation. They're on much fresher tires.
Oh, but they are sketchy. Miranda got to the back bumper of Peel, got him a bit sideways as they were going down the back straightaway and entering 3 and 4, spread out all along the speedway. Whittington up top, Miranda through the inside, Peel a little bit through the middle. They're going to flush underneath the 94, and the 55 of Sanchez will join the fray. Now this is about the fight for the lead. Harlow on at least 5-lap older tires. Peel to the inside for the lead.
Looked like the 3 of Harlow maybe tagged the wall there on the exit, and now he's got a mirror full of the 99 as well. This battle not over for the lead, because once that 99 car is able to clear, Miranda will probably be on the back bumper of the 12 as they go into 1.
Well, you got to be concerned if you're Ross Harlow, not only about being in the middle of this entire fresh tire sea, you're also looking about if you're pushing your car a little too hard to play so much defense. You know you're on an older set of tires. Maybe the option is to hold back and wait in the draft to see if anything develops from there on out, since you've lost the lead already. But Harlow really doesn't want to burn up his Goodyear Eagles now and make his situation a whole lot worse. We saw Alex Huffman run up for the lead in the first stint, then all of a sudden used up his tires and he fell back through the midst of the top 10. Harlow wants to remain in the podium, or at least the top 5 if he can muster that. But for now, Lawson Peel takes over the race lead, and what a job, Bradley, by Peel and Miranda to find a way to get through really deep starting positions beneath the top 30. Peel, of course, started 37th, and to make their way through the field on the first stint, work very hard to weave through traffic and through strategy, have the freshest tires out of anyone, and can grab pivotal stage points that they probably need if they want to continue a championship pursuit.
That right there proves why Lawson Peel has a championship. I mean, you passed almost the entire field with the exception of maybe 2 cars here tonight, and you did it all within the first stage. I mean, that's the talent group in this room right now, and you're able to do that. That says you have a fast car.
Well, these two have fast machines. The Peel car and the Miranda car are maybe going head-to-head. These are 2 drivers that have been seen in the championship for multiple seasons on end. Peel has been the victor twice in a row. Miranda has always been on the short end of the stick. He was a championship 4 driver back in season 5, missed out on the championship 4 by several points back in season 6. So a lot of storylines between these two. And mind you, these two are at the top of the all-time wins list here in this series, and they are tied, Bradley, at 19. So not only is this a settling cause of just running for the lead now for good stage points and maximum stage points, in fact, they're looking to break each other's battle for all-time wins.
Yeah, the tiebreaker here right now on your screen. Miranda not able to get quite the run, and I hear a downshift there by Peel coming out of 3 and 4. He's done that a few times, and it does set the nose a little better, but when they're going down this front on that tri-oval, it's allowing Miranda to draft back up to him, and another peek to the inside for the lead. Here they come off of turn 2. Lap traffic going to be a factor.
It's going to be the 47 of Isaac Mock who will fall down at least another lap, or he will be a lap down. He is the last car on the lead lap, lets the leaders by. On the inside of 3 and 4, Miranda remaining in his challenge for the top spot. We'll look a little further back to the outskirts of the top 10. There was a look at Alex Huffman and his Allen's Racing Legacy Team number 10 car with Stephen Harlow up in front, Wyatt Brackett, who picked up a ton of points at Daytona 2 weeks ago, able to potentially pick up at least 2 points here if he's able to close out stage 1 in this position. His teammate Curtis Kelly back through 12.
Oh, wow.
Got turned by Chris Shoemaker and saved it on the back straightaway.
That's an impressive save. You were 90 degrees coming into the entry of 3, facing the inside wall. How do you save that?
Looked like he got saved by the 4 car. Here's a look at the replay on the back straightaway. What happens there, Bradley? Is that just too close of side drafting between those two? It seems like that's the case.
I guess. I mean, maybe he was hitting his entry into 3. We'll take a look at it from the blimp camera, but maybe cutting down to hit that apex a little early, and the 4 car got up on the bumper. Yep, he wasn't cutting down yet. The 4 just got up into him.
So slides up, gets a piece of the 71, and got him sideways. That is a massive scare for Curtis Kelly, who will have to deal with all of the ramifications. He's going to drop back to 14th place and may even fall outside of the top 15. So potential stage points on the line and basically ripped away from him, as here is Forrester further up through the top 5. A look underneath Eddie Smith. Forrester with 7 lap better tires than Smith. Austin Reedy with about 2 laps better on his set of Goodyear Eagles. Austin Reedy as well. Great job to move up through the field from 17th. As the Fast Banana Toyota Camrys are weaving their way through the top 10. Once again, Bradley to control the tempo with stage points.
Yeah, a little connection problem there for Reedy, but hopefully it clears up. And we're getting down to that payday here for points. Lawson Peel starting to pull away from Miranda. There's one guy that's shown the speed in the long run. It's the 12 car, and Miranda under fire from Sanchez for second.
Well, Miranda might have to just cash out before he plays a little too hard and loses it all, because Sanchez has started to close in for second place and also bring in Ross Harlow, Colin Forrester. Drivers on older and newer sets of tires deep into this run have settled into a rhythm. Miranda in that really hard pursuit for the top spot. Now, baby, worth nothing if he falls out of the top 3 and loses out on what could be really crucial stage points. We're coming up to 7 laps to go before the end of stage 1. Sanchez floated up high and he got right into the wall, looking for an outside position on Miranda's machine.
Loses all that momentum, loses all that time. He'll be able to have a couple more opportunities, though, as we approach 6 laps to go. He's going to have to be careful not to do that again. It's that bubble there, as you saw. As soon as he got up to that rear bumper, it looked like that car just got aero tight.
Sanchez remains right behind this 99 car. And as long as they do that, the Dunkin' Donuts number 31 Toyota Camry will slowly creep up into the picture and say, hey guys, maybe I won't be the best person to spoil this party now. It probably won't be nice if I spoil the party now, but I'm kind of going to do it anyway. Forrester will have a shot at second place if he can get through both of them. They both wash up at a turn 4, and a huge run by Forrester looks to the inside on Sanchez. That's for third with 4 to go in the stage.
And for this stage, the points leader, he's going to capitalize on it. He's going to go for second spot now to the inside of Miranda down the back straightaway. He's going to cut into the draft, get that run, keep the momentum. Now to the outside of the 99. He has the 55 of Sanchez to help assist him on the exit.
It's Fast Banana versus Race Team, the 2 Toyotas working out of 4. Forrester wanted to run up high just so he can get a better shot at turn 1 underneath Miranda, using the draft on the 99's machine. A look on the bottom. Forrester dives it down low, looking for a lunge for second. He will clear Miranda out of turn 2 down the Nellis straightaway. Miranda won't cross him over. Colin Forrester, the points leader, to second with about 3 laps to go in the stage, and at least 3/10 of a second to the race leader, Lawson Peel. Could this be a spoiler, Bradley, for Forster to steal the stage win?
Well, he's fast enough to do it that last time by, about 3/10 quicker. And now that he's clear of the 99 car, all he has to do is focus his attention to the back of that 12. Big run there off of 2, shaves off another 10th, now into 3. You see that gap on your left side of your screen dwindles down a little bit more with every passing second.
Forster clocking in a 31 flat the last trip around the speedway. Peel with a 31.3, so it's a monumental difference between the two cars. It's a little less this time by. Peel was able to stop the bleeding by at least a 10th, but Forster still clocking in faster laps than the Columbus, Mississippi native. Forster once again drifts up high in 1 and 2. Sanchez got a piece of the outside wall. Pit road is closed. This will be the run to the end of the first stage from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Peel in control. Forster, not enough time. Checkered flag in stage 1 goes to Lawson Peel. So Lawson Peel comes away with max stage points after starting 37th, plus 36 since the drop of the green flag. Forster gave him a whale of a fight, but it was not enough, and he didn't have enough time. Miranda closes it out in 3rd. Sanchez, who brushed the wall the last lap by, will be 4th. Ross Harlow remains inside the top 5. Whittington, Huffman, Smith, Reedy, and Stephen Harlow rounds out the rest of the top 10. All of them will get stage points. But Bradley, look at the way Peel was able to maneuver himself through stage 1. It wasn't all clear. Forster almost had a run at him if you gave him maybe 2 or 3 extra laps, but the impressive run from 37th to 1st will at least assist Lawson Peel a bit, especially after the hurt of Daytona, and will get him further up through the standings.
Yeah, and you put yourself in a good spot now. You don't have to pass all those cars again. You get to come down pit road and get 4 fresh tires. That short pit seemed to be the winning strategy, but doing it a little bit too early if you're the 3 of Harlow. He does fall back to 5th, but again, situations here. This is the first stage. We still got a lot of laps left to go. Let's see how they all shape up down on the pit stops.
Consensus call, everyone is in. Here this time by on lap number 81 of 267. Peel, of course, because he started basically at the very back, he's got one of the first pit stalls. He's got a long road to pit road exit Miranda, a couple of pit boxes ahead. Meanwhile, Forster has to drive all the way up after starting in 2nd. He'll look for one of the first 5 pit boxes. That's going to be the 2nd, actually. Harlow right in front. Everybody with 4 fresh tires and fuel. Bradley, and maybe Miranda and Peel being so far back in pit lane could create a crutch for them as the jacks lift up on the left side. Peel and Miranda out. 1, 2, everybody else joins them. The run out of pit road remains the same as the end of the first stage. Peel, Forster, and Miranda, your top 3. Harlow and Sanchez to the rest of your top 5. What a first stage from Las Vegas, Bradley.
Clean and green, that's how we like it. And seeing the multi-groove racing, the multiple strategies, that's why we do this. That's why we enjoy watching these races, because these guys put on a show, and all the math you have to do. Couldn't imagine all the factors that you have to take into consideration, and these guys executed well. Lawson Peel on top for stage 1.
Peel had it all in mind, went from 37th to the top spot. He will lead us on the next restart, fresh out of stage number 1. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into coverage of race number 2 of the Season 7 Sunoco Cup Series, live from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller, yeah. Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
80 down, 187 to go from the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where we continue the Sunoco Cup Series Season 7 and race number 2 live on VSPEED. Glad to have you with us alongside our producer slash color commentator, Bradley Cooper. I'm Kenneth Bueno. We saw a flag-to-flag Stage 1 run where Lawson Peel started 37th in the race, used all of the track position gains and pit road strategy to get the Stage 1 win over Colin Forrester. He will lead them back to the stripe to begin Stage number 2. We will go all the way to lap 165, a bit of a longer stretch to the end of the second stage. We've opened the book up for strategy 100%, but right now, everyone on an even playing field. It's Peel and Forrester. In the inside and outside of row number 1, pace car moves itself down to the entrance of pit road to the restart zone. Peel's hopping on the gas first. We're back underway. Stage 2 from Las Vegas. Decent start by Peel keeps him ahead of now Mario Miranda, who got right to the inside of Colin Forrester. Bit of a sluggish start by those on the outside lane. Joe Sanchez in the fight with the 31 car for third, while Miranda dives in for clean air and looks for an entry out of Ford to take away the top spot to complete the first lap after the second stage start.
So Peel's going to lead that time by, but you saw back there, Forrester didn't have the restart that he needed. That whole outside line got pretty checked up. He now has it up to full song, so he's starting to fight back, but he lost 2 positions there rather quickly in the 31 car. Maybe not the situation he wants to be in, but he's going to have to deal with it now with Harlow back to the outside, looking for the top 4.
And mentioned the run, if you're on the inside here in Vegas, you can easily get freight trained by the entire draft line up top, and part of that is what's really hampering the 31's ability to maintain position down low, because every time you rise up out of the corner, Ross Harlow's going to give that push to Joe Sanchez. They're in the same lane, so it really makes the car on the inside have to work a lot harder for their winnings. This time, though, Forrester is able to clear to the inside. He'll go in 3 and 4, follow that single file train that helped the top 3 run away at the beginning of stage number 1. Bradley, do you think we'll see the same this time by? I believe a lot of the drivers are a little more comfortable in their position. You've added 2 to the equation in the form of Miranda and Peel. Do you figure we'll see another pull away like we did in the first stint, at least 25 laps of stage 1?
Well, I think we'll see a little bit of a different strategy from some of these drivers. They might have learned from their mistakes, and the 5 of Harlow probably won't pit as early as he did, but right now the accordion effect hasn't really started. You had that pull away in the first stage and then pit stops. I don't think this top 3 is going to split the way they did before. You already see Miranda getting side by side with Peel, and I think these two have such a clash, such a rivalry per se, that they're going to race each other really hard, and it's going to be difficult for them to pull away from the rest of the field.
And really, they've been racing since the drop of the green flag, because both of them started 31st or worse. Miranda and Peel both had to claw their way through the field, so it's not like they were on this journey separately. They were basically full synchronization running through the pack, and now have the cleanest air out of everyone in the field. We remain in a side-by-side battle. This time it's going to be for 5th. Huffman will win that fight against the inside car, Joe Sanchez. And a look on board with VSPEED's very own Eddie Smith. I mean, Bradley, I don't think we've had an opportunity to talk trash about Eddie Smith, because at Daytona, he put in a top 10. He's running top 10 in the standings, and running here inside the top 10 now underneath Austin Reedy.
He's given us nothing but good things to talk about. He just went to the outside of the 71 there. Curtis Kelly now to the bottom 96 of Austin Reedy, and down the back straightaway looking like he has the momentum to maybe get to the inside of the 96 car. There he goes.
He's going to stay underneath Reedy, though, who's got the help from his fast banana teammate in Curtis Kelly. Smith will clear ahead. Now underneath Jesse Whittington he will go, and he'll look for 8th place. Eddie Smith, super fast through Daytona, super fast tonight here at Las Vegas. And while he hasn't been directly at the front his strategy certainly employed definitely helped him move further through the top 10, and on raw pace seems to have it, although he is trapped on the inside lane. Meanwhile, the change for the race lead, Oklahoma's Mario Miranda to the top spot as Harlow makes it a fight out for 4 for second place.
Onto the outside for the 3 car. He's got Huffman. Remember, these two in the top 3 early in that first stage. More of the same here, working their way back into the top 3, but they're going to fight each other. The 3 car has the preferred exit line. Not clear. Almost gets the door into the side of Huffman. Now into 3. Gets the momentum swing. The 4 of Chris Shoemaker going to help assist this exit.
We are out 3 wide. Shoemaker on the outside of Sanchez and Colin Forster. This is the heart of the pack from 3rd on back. Alex Huffman and the 4 car of Shoemaker are going to go battle in turns 1 and 2. And how about Shoemaker, a race high 5th, and the only Prestige Worldwide Racing Ford Mustang inside the top 10. As Huffman helps Keel down, though we are door to door for at least 3 rows deep into 3 and 4.
Side by side, second position, all the way back to 8th. Well, actually, Eddie Smith was side by side there, exiting 4. He's going to dive it back to the inside. That's the 55 of Sanchez, and Sanchez showing late run speed. That's where I was most impressed with that 55 car. So maybe being a little conservative here. Let these guys get up here and race and then come back with him. And I think the 31 to his inside's on the same page.
And look who's also jumped inside the top 10 after starting basically at the rear. It's the 23 car, that green and black Ford Mustang, the Florida native of Ray Rogers. He dumped into the start of this field at 38th place. He had an end-of-line penalty based on something that was given to him after the driver's meeting because he wasn't even there for the driver's meeting prior to the green flag. Rogers has silently moved his way to a top 10 spot for Poman Motorsports.
So everybody 20th position up is side by side as we ride on board with Aaron Adcock and the number 17 machine. But I just want to say that if you're in the, a little problem here for the 96 in a car off the racetrack. We're going to stay green. I think that was Muscarella in the 48, and there they go, the 6 cars around. That's going to bring out the yellow.
Oh, and Dustin Reeve pancakes the inside of the wall. On the back straightaway, that's our first on-track caution through 97 laps. It's Dustin Reeves that goes for a spin, exiting turn 2. But you're right, it really all started around where the 48 car of Muscarella was, and I think it happened even further up the hill. It was Austin Reedy who got loose and checked up everybody in the middle of 1 and 2, center of the corner. Car just snapped as he got the apron. Here's a look at the replay, and mind you, Bradley, we don't talk about this a lot, but the bumps on the inside of 1 and 2, they are brutal. That 96 car was loyal to the very inside, got stepped out of lane through the oscillation and checked up everybody else. And then in the aftermath, the 6 car gets turned around.
So we'll watch here with the 48 of Muscarella's going to 1 and 2. Just a little problem, but I think they had gotten it sorted out. But that checkup there from the 96 of Reedy, that's what really started all of it. And then another huge checkup with, I believe that's Harlow and the 1 machine of Hendry. The 6 car didn't see it until it was too late.
And you could see Curtis, who was leading this race at one point by staying out the longest. And Reeves, after checking up, slams into the car in front. There's the 43 Taco Bell machine with a cheesy gordita slap to the back end of the 6 machine and sends him around to bring out our first caution. How about that, Bradley? We've gone so long with a clean green flag run up until now, and even then only ends up as a 1-car incident with Dustin Reeves going sideways. But this is going to affect the pit lane decisions because everybody about, I'd say, 8th on back have decided to come in, while everybody 8th on forward, they have decided to stay out. Do you like either call, and why?
Well, right now I like the guys that did come down pit road because we're kind of in that gray area where yeah, you could probably make it to the end of this and run it out if we stay green. We've produced a lot of green flag laps. But I also like the guys that stayed out to stay up front. That track position has been kind of key here to try to defend. We've got a couple guys that just came in and topped off with fuel, so trying to still save that extra set of tires. There's so many strategies here. It's really hard to piece this all together as you see a few more drivers decide to come down pit road anyway.
And these are second decisions by drivers like Chris Progar, Ross Harlow. I think that's going to be the biggest call that we've seen by him. Harlow is either going for an extra splash or another set of tires. The 47 of Isaac Mock is in, who fell a lap down at the end of stage number 1, and it appears that's going to be it other than the 45 car after that of James Kunkel. So it appears we have a second guess decision by Ross Harlow. He indeed is getting a set of tires. So how big is this now? Harlow's going to drop beneath the top 30.
There's the decision. If you were looking for something that I could disagree with, that second guessing yourself, sometimes you put yourself in a spot and you just got to deal with it. You got to commit to it. And yeah, he'll be on fresher tires and he'll be in the situation that some of these other drivers did that I agreed with, but he'll be deeper in the field had he just came down the first time. But now, once you stay out, you got to stay out. And you know that these guys up here in this top 10, they're going to be racing each other, doing some crazy stuff to try to get position as we approach that second stage. You got plenty of time to go do this. I just don't like that the 3-car of Harlow is going to be so deep in this field.
Well, I think here I found out why the 3-car just came down a second time. He didn't take tires on the first stop. He let everybody down as Lawson Pio, Joe Sanchez had stayed out. Harlow was running in third, came in for a splash of fuel only. I think, Bradley, he thought everybody else behind were going to just take a splash of fuel and they would be out of there. But no, a lot of the drivers took 14.5-second stops. They all came in for a new set of tires, while Progar and others just came in at the end. The lap after, Harlow had decided, yeah, this is probably my time to come in. I didn't put a fresh set. I'm going to be completely lagging behind the competition. So Harlow here on a second decision to come down pit road for tires may hurt him in the long run. He's going to have to restart deep in this field. And as we look at timing and scoring, it most likely will be from 23rd.
Well, and now that you explain it to me, yeah, it's a little bit of a different scenario, and that makes sense. Not originally what he wanted with the rest of the field taking tires. But again, once you're committed and you're in that spot, I guess it's easy for me to say I'm up here in the booth, but once you're in that spot, it's really difficult to come back down. And, you know, we're halfway through this stage. These guys are producing green flag laps, and 4 tires will help, but I don't think it's going to be as beneficial at this point.
And also, too, you look at the way that strategy unfolded for Harlow. Now he's going to have to do all the heavy lifting, getting his way through the field as Lawson Peel and Joe Sanchez, the duo from Drinkin' Bros Racing, come out of turn 4. A bit of a checkup up top. Our first green flag restart here at lap 102, fresh off of an on-track caution. The 55 gets the run out of the triangle to remain clear in second place. Eddie Smith and Shane Wyatt going door to door. How about the 27 of Wyatt? This is a race high fourth for him down the Nellis straightaway.
So if you're in the top 10 right now, you're going to try to get as far away as possible from the rest of this field. You do not have time to mess around. You've got a lot of fresh tires behind you, and it starts with Huffman. So now's the time. If you're going to get positions and get some gap away from this field, you see the 27 pull away a little bit from Mirinda and the 26 behind him there of Sturgeon. This is the time and place to get that time up.
Well, a lot of drivers stayed out just to get some extra track position. Logan Sturgeon in that group, Justin Erb, Chuck Feltz into 75. Aaron Adcock came down pit road, but he's gained a lot of track position into 17 as he fights against Forrester on the outside of turn 4. Miranda is going to be the basic leader here from the train of cars that just came down pit road. Miranda slides underneath Logan Sturgeon, and that will be the battle decided for fifth. So he's going to pioneer all of these guys to move through, but it doesn't appear, Bradley, that the advantage is that big as we look back at the battle still developing inside the top 10.
Yeah, it hasn't been very advantageous that he came down and got 4 tires, and I think we were only sitting somewhere around 30 laps on those tires, and these guys stretched the run out. Saw a few drivers take it past 50. We know that they can do it. It's just whether or not they saved enough to compete with these fresh tires when they do get up here, because it's kind of inevitable that they're going to make their way up into the top 5 very soon.
Well, now how do you? You went 17 laps from, or maybe even less than that, from the end of stage 1 to the first caution for on-track incident with Dustin Reeves. Then a lot of these guys come in for another set of tires, and you have to prep for what's going to be the next, let's call it 81 laps to the end of stage number 2, or rather 60, 59, wow, I have no math there, but 59 laps to the end of stage 2. Now you're really cutting it close, not only on the fuel window, but on the tires too, and they're going to really get hurt over the course of this run. I'm not entirely sure how Miranda and company are going to play this strategy out, but for the moment, Miranda is on fire. He has moved up to 3rd and is slowly creeping up on the Drinkin' Bros Racing Chevrolets. Wyatt shut the door right in front of Eddie Smith. That was for 4th.
And Smith pushes up the racetrack. I heard Smith, he cut the 99 a break. He knew that he was on fresher tires, but now he's in a mix of cars of both. And he almost looks out of place. He's been up here in the top 10 pretty much all day. But right now, it just seems like he can't run his line, and he's given a lot of positions up.
Wyatt leading this train of cars. Most of them Chevrolets through the group. Look up forward to Lawson Peel, who holds on to the lead by only 2/10 over his teammate. This could be pivotal too, because Miranda has fresher tires, but Sanchez is a Drinkin' Bros Racing teammate of Lawson Peel. They may work together to hold off that 99 car for as long as humanly possible before Miranda just has too much grip to overcome any sort of defense. And there's Alex Huffman continuously making appearances through the top 5. Slides underneath Shane Wyatt in that sim wrap market number 27. Huffman to the bottom. He's clear for 4th. So it appears, though, Bradley, we've got now a decent mix between those on old tires and on new tires. And you'd expect 17 laps to be a huge difference in time, but it appears everyone's running in 30.4s, other than Huffman, who got some clean air and ran a 30.1. But in traffic, everybody is pretty equalized here.
Well, and maybe there's still some speed in these tires, but I think right now you're seeing these guys push it a little harder than they probably can afford to, because, yeah, right here with Miranda all over the back bumper of Sanchez, they're going to drive it hard and probably hold up the 99 and the 10 car. But as this run progresses more towards the end of this stage, I think the 99 and the 10 are going to check out.
Well, Miranda has the assistance from Huffman down low. Again, those are the 2 fresh tire cars weaving their way through the podium spot. They got through Sanchez collectively. Colin Forrester should be the next car in line on fresh rubber to get through. Here's a look on board from Peel. Has all the defense that he can use, but Miranda does have fresher tires by a huge margin, so it's only a matter of time before this 99 and then the 10 ensuing behind could be able to build a run enough good to make a case on the outside or the bottom. This is a nice run out of 4. Miranda's not going to pull the trigger yet. Huffman, though, sliding a bit high through the middle. It's all about, though, making sure you don't overuse the fresh tire advantage you have, or it could fully eliminate in a matter of seconds. Miranda still cannot get the clear headway on the 12 car.
He's stalking him right now, probably trying to find a spot, and he found it just now as he dives to the inside out of 4. He was looking for a place to press where it hurt, and the 12 can't pinch him down. He's going to force his way up here, and there goes 2 spots now for the 12 car, because that freight train is coming.
Miranda to the race lead here at Las Vegas. Huffman still in that bout for 2nd place against Peel, who's going to have a monumental run out of the 2nd corner to the back straightaway. And that last lap around the speedway, Peel just missed the bottom. Miranda saw the opening and went right for it. Miranda controls the pace here at lap 114, cross of the stripe. Hoffman to race high second place. And Lawson Peel ducks back into third. Forrester and Chris Shoemaker, pair of newly minted fresh tire cars, moving their way up through the field side by side. Forrester looking on Peel, while Chris Shoemaker moves up to the field. A great run for Shoemaker tonight from Vegas.
Both the 4 and the 31 have fresh tires, and Peel just playing defense. He's probably going to get split 3 wide here as they come off of turn 4. He does, and the 31 almost some contact. They do touch. A little wiggle there for your third place driver.
Scary for Peel as the 31 got into him. And Peel made the wiggle. He saved the race car, and he's all good, but he's going to drop to 5th place. And with that, they're going to be right in the tsunami of all of the fresh tire cars. There's not much they can do. Sanchez has also plummeted to 7th place. Shane Wyatt back to 8th, and Logan Sturgeon almost outside of the top 10. Eddie Smith back in 11th, and all the fresh tire cars haven't made as much progress as your top 4, but this is really, Bradley, where you're right on your car. They're going to start to pull away here and not look back at all. Here's a look on board from Reedy running in 9th.
Yeah, he's to the inside there, Shane Wyatt. Wyatt gets a good run off of 2. The point with the tires right now, yeah, these guys look like Superman up front. We still got over 40 laps to go in this stage. There's plenty of time for these guys to come down pit road and make up the ground. And when we get to that stage, they could be on fresher rubber. I think right now, it's just kind of hard to wrap your head around who's going to have what at the end of this race.
And also, too, the drivers that did stay out, give it 9 or so cars on the last caution. When they come down pit road, how behind the 8 ball are they going to be if they don't have a caution to save them? Because they are going to fall a lap down, no doubt about it. These guys up at the front still have a lot of laps they can put on the tires before they even remotely consider coming down the lane, as Joe Sanchez almost got split 3 wide entering turn 1 by Shane Wyatt and Austin Reedy, who powers by on the outside. You're looking through, if you're Peel, Sanchez, and the rest of the guys on old tires, you're pitting maybe at about 12 or so laps. You could extend it a little longer, but it will get really close to the end of your fuel window on the tank. So how big of a concern is that as Peel, Sanchez, and company have to pit? They're going to have to hope for a yellow instead of this race going green all the way, which will help everyone else.
Well, the concern now is, okay, where do we shake out tire-wise? Because if they pit and it's just before the stage break, they don't get the points, so it was kind of pointless to stay out or pit early. I think based off the numbers that we saw, these guys are going to be a little bit short. This is a close one. I don't know, man. That was a gutsy call, but if you can go into a little bit of conservation mode, and Miranda and Huffman might be in that because they don't have guys behind them with fresher tires, it might work out okay.
And the call, though, might just be the fall of grace, or the fall from grace for those guys. However, when they do come down pit road, they will have fresh tires for a moment. They could theoretically unlap themselves under green if given the opportunity, but then these guys here, all leading the command of this race in about 20 or so laps, they're also going to start to think about pit road, which will be at around lap 140, 145. Gives you about 20 or so laps before the end of this second stage at 165. Then you could have the full cycle come around where Sanchez, Peel, the rest of those guys that stayed out off the recent caution, they could have the track position. However, they'll be at a marginally large difference on tires, which will certainly hurt their abilities at least maintaining some sort of control ahead of the competition. Peel will get a big run on Curtis Kelly.
Wow.
Before, gave him the bump entering the corner. But it looks like these guys on fresher tires, Bradley, are starting to equalize out because Peel is hanging tough with the rest of the top 5.
And good for Peel. That's what he really needs to do. If you go into that scenario where he's going to pit at a different time, if he can hang with this top 5, he'll be in a better spot down pit road. And I think that second fall off will be the factor that puts him up in the lead to end this stage. I think the 12 car right now, he could probably out-strategize the 99 and the 10 if he hangs with them.
And as long as the 71 and the 4 of Kelly and Shoemaker continue to do battle in front, Peel will just remain behind them, and maybe he doesn't need to make the pass complete, but as long as he stays with them in draft, that's really all that matters. And this is a full top 6 breakaway because you pull 2.3 seconds back, and that's where you see the next lead lap car, the 96 of Austin Reedy, who's finished, like we said earlier in the show, the last 3 of these Vegas races on the podium, including a win back in season 5. And then Reedy is all by himself, because then you look 4 seconds behind and you find Sanchez, who's leading a tertiary group of cars with Wyatt, Shoemaker, Smith, Sturgeon, and you have to count all the cars behind. It is a big group right behind the 55. And good news for Peel, hanging with the top 5 in front. Good news for Sanchez, who hasn't let any of these drivers by easily through the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, remember Peel stayed out with the 12, or actually Sanchez stayed out with the 12 of Peel. He's got some guys making moves now, but he held them up for quite a long time, and he hasn't lost too much ground. 4 seconds, easily doable on this pit stop. Now we're starting to see that ice start to fall through, and how about the drive here by Austin Shoemaker? He's trying to resurge back to the front after kind of a rocky start to this race. He's down 7 from where he began, but you know, the fresh tire is making a big difference. This group of cars, he's going to be close to the front of it. I think that's the 30 is the other car that has the freshest tires in this pack.
You're right, and Shoemaker sort of withered away after the first run where he started inside the top 3 and fell back to now what is the edge of the top 10 and pretty much skating by the competition now because of the fresh tires. And Austin wants to join his teammate Chris, 2 of the Prestige Worldwide Racing drivers, and now make them inside the top 10, although Austin is fighting for his life. And then you have to look further through the field to find anyone else that resides in that Prestige Worldwide Racing camp. Garrett Brown in the 16 car is one of them. He's on the outskirts of the top 10 in 12th. And then, of course, Dustin Reeves, who spun around to cause the first on-track yellow tonight. He has dropped to 30th place and may be at a position to be a lap down. We've got our closest fights for a position right up inside of that top 10. So could be good news for those older tire cars because they could at least hang tough and make sure that the guys on fresh tires use up all their stuff available. Here's Reedy up front, getting around Chris Shoemaker. Clean pass and easy for 6th place.
The Shoemaker in the 4 on fresher tires than Peel, who's up here still hanging with the top 4 leaders. How about that? That proves to me right there that the 12 car at this stage, he's going to get the victory.
And think of the lap time difference. Lawson Peel, 47 laps into a stint. You could credit it to less fuel in the tank. He just clocked in a 31 flat. Everyone else ahead has either clocked in 31 ones or 31 twos. They are not running as quickly as the 12 car is now. However, Peel does have to consider coming down pit road at some point to get his 3rd set of tires slapped on to his SpaceX number 12 Chevrolet Camaro. So it really will be a crucial decision on the line for Peel when he comes down pit road. But theoretically, if he hangs on to this top 5 as long as he does until he comes down, that could be a lot of time that he can gain versus losing to the competition. Forrester underneath Alex Huffman makes the pass easy for 2nd. We've got calls for drivers to come down pit road, and it starts with Logan Sturgeon, who hops on the brakes. He's one of the guys in the camp of old tires. He's in here at lap 131.
And what a long, lonely pit road it must feel like right now. The 26, the only one in. Gonna get 4 tires and fuel, full service Sunoco in that tank. And I tell you, this is kind of what Harlow did, but I think right now with the way the laps are left, this could be a good move. He's gonna have 30 solid laps to try to make up time.
And speak of Harlow, the 3 car started 23rd on the last restart after pitting twice. He's now up to 13th. He's got 32 lap old tires. He's on the camp of fresh rubber now. He's working his way through Ray Rogers and Joe Sanchez. These are the last 2 drivers on the outskirts of the top 10 before you get to really downtown top 10. And Harlow doing a beautiful job of flourishing in this run and doing the exact same that Peel and Miranda did to gain all of their track position and, of course, stage points is really going to matter. Our biggest question is when Lawson Peel is coming down pit road. He remains in 5th behind Alex Huffman, who just bowed out of the top 4 battle. Peel giving no indication that he's coming in until now. Hops on the brakes, drifts it down low. The 12 car of Peel is in.
And he hits the 3rd to last stall here, so in quickly. He has to get the thing loaded up fast. He did a phenomenal job. There's the
Peel
55.
Is in, joined by Sanchez and by Justin Erb. 3 of them in here at lap 134. And give and take, the top 5 or so probably will make them maybe 12 to 15 laps more before they start to consider coming down the lane in the final 25 laps before the end of stage 2. Man, this is going to get closer than I thought, Bradley. I imagined that Peel and company wouldn't really have a shot based on their completely alternative strategy to stay out and pit at this moment, but because all these other guys have to come in before the end of stage 2, it might allot some time for Peel to cycle through to the net race lead, or at least the net top 5, and hang on to that position before the fresh tire cars catch up.
When I thought I heard some clutching here, so another factor of the strategy. There's Colin Forrester onto the clutch pedal. You can hear it on your speakers right now. He's trying to save as much as he can and keep that 99 in check. He's got the draft, so that's another advantage. But as we ride lap to lap, how much can he save? Can he make it to the stage? It's going to be cutting it close here for this top 5. They start
Let's
to
look
spread
on
out.
board with Miranda, the race leader, in his cockpit as he comes out of 4 to turn 1. Listen to this. No saving at all. So for Colin Forrester, he's definitely clutching a little more. While Miranda did clutch the last time by, he's starting to push his Toyota Camry a little bit. So even differing strategies between those in the rest of the top 5. Now Miranda clutches in 3 and 4. His car drops to 0 revs. It's all about just positioning when and where you can save. Here's another look from Miranda back to turn 1. We'll see if he clutches once more. The clutch and coast through 1 and 2.
Maybe listening to the broadcast in the background, hearing what these other guys are doing. Sometimes that's a strategy. The 31 was doing it long before this, so maybe this is going to be enough for both of them. I think if you start clutching, then realistically, you might be able to make it.
You could stretch it a little longer, but again, you're walking a fine line, Bradley. When you're on this strategy, you could get theoretically so close that you might run to fumes at the end of this one. And also think about the competition around you. Miranda maybe doesn't know fully what Forrester is doing, unless, like you said, he's watching the broadcast, but he probably is, maybe in some sense, or somebody is in his group chat in Discord. But you have to play offense and a bit of defense at the same time. If Miranda wants to stay up front, he can't really clutch to the point where Forrester just easily gets by him. That's a track position lost, and by the time you get through the pit road strategy, it could eliminate any factor of gaining more time through the end, because then you have to work through at least one extra car. And same goes for Kelly, for Austin Reedy, for Alex Huffman, all playing different strategies through the top 5. And it looks like, Bradley, the 96 of Reedy has slowly but surely caught up to the other guys, and while they're all clutching and coasting, putting in laps around the 36.5 and 31.6 bracket, this 96 car running 31.2s, no indication of slowing down.
On the other side of this as well, these guys up here saving, their lap times are going to fall off a little bit, so that puts Peel and some of the, Sanchez, the guys that came down early, or that had to, in a little bit better position as well, because now that's even more time that they're making up right now on these fresh tires. And check in with the 12 of Peel. He's sitting back here in the 27th position, but he is the first car a lap down, and he's not far off.
The last thing you need, though, if you're any of these old tire guys, is a caution, right? It's going to get Peel on the lead lap through the wave around, but for everyone else, it's going to basically trap them a lap down or more. But Peel could have a decent shot at basically unlapping himself as he gets by the 5th place car on the lead lap, Alex Huffman. But for everyone else, they do not want a caution to fly, because as soon as it raises up in the air from Bronny the flagman, it means they are trapped. And they're going to have to at least hope another caution comes out or something else gives them some sort of positivity to weave through the top 10 and make it a race once again. Here's a 3-way fight from 8th to 10th. Austin Shoemaker leading this trio of 2 Fords and a Chevrolet. Garrett Brown, the Season 1 champ, the Bucky's car on the very outside. Huge run out of 2. Will use it to his advantage. And in the background, now moving into the top 10, silently Bradley, Ross Harlow in the 3.
I just saw the 14 of Shoemaker close the door. Harlow had a heck of a run coming out of 2, but he can't go anywhere with it. He has the Bucky's Garrett Brown on the outside. Now the 14, they single file out. Can the 3 of Harlow get to the outside maybe and get around the 14 car? He will get to the door, but it doesn't look like he's able to run that line the way he wants to.
Two of those guys who finished either decently or at least pretty poorly at Daytona. Austin Shoemaker trying to recover from a 36th place finish at the World Center of Racing, while the 16 of Garrett Brown comes off of a 16th place outing at Daytona Beach. And Ross Harlow will split them right through the middle. So Harlow moves his way up into 9th and might get another driver on the chopping block in the form of Brown, and looking to make Brown a pretty nice brisket sandwich like they sell at Buc-ee's across the nation, while Jesse Whittington and Ray Rogers in this bout for 11th.
There's quite a few cameras here tonight, and I'm trying to do them all justice. Here we'll get a first look at the 94 machine. That's Jesse Whittington, and he's up about 4 spots, actually down 4 spots. I read that in reverse, but he does have 3 of those positions right in front of him to try to rebound.
Jesse Whittington, the onboard look from the 94, who started 7th tonight, wrapping a new sponsor on his Chevrolet Camaro this evening from Las Vegas. That is a Le Chien Brewing Company scheme on his Camaro tonight. It's got the beautiful spec map silver look with the gold and white on the side of his car. Whittington with a gorgeous paint scheme, and said, I've been looking forward to putting this car on track. Local company, local flair. This silver look is one that I've been wanting to run for a while now, and it's finally going to be on track. Whittington super excited to bring Le Chien on board on his Chevrolet to 9th, runs in 12th, while Ray Rogers behind him has sort of skipped off of 2 cars that are on fresh tires moving their way forward. Joe Sanchez and Shane Wyatt in the same boat as Lawson Peel, wanting to fully unlap themselves before the end of stage 2.
Oh, a little checkup here in front. Whittington, Shoemaker, Sanchez now on the fresh tires, going to dive to the inside. 3 car of Harlow, he's trying to complete a pass on Garrett Brown, but Sanchez might just split the middle here. He takes it to the outside, and now the 27 car going to be the factor. Fresh tires starting to mix it up here. 3 wide again.
Wide on the inside, playing patient until the very end. We're still almost 3 wide at the exit of 4, and it's getting really fun up here. Wyatt moves his way through Harlow. Sanchez gets through all of them in front of Brown, and this time Brown won't play any resistance to Wyatt's move up through to unlap himself. He'll get right in front as we'll cross the line for lap 150 of 267. Your leaders remaining out. And how about 3 of the top 4 Fast Banana Toyota Camrys? Forrester in 2nd, Reedy in 3rd, Curtis Kelly up to 4th, and all of them right behind your race leader, Miranda.
Fast Banana's done it again. And we talk, oh, look, both of them into the wall. They're so in sync here that they're actually touching the wall at the same time. That's how much they work together. But we saw it at Daytona. That's why the 31 car is in the position and points he is in, because he has a great group of people around him. And the scenario here for the 2nd stage, barring that they can make it, they were in conservation mode. I think it's going to be more of the same.
Well, they have picked up the pace. Now we're seeing 31 3s and 31 4s versus 31 5s and 6s. So your top 4, at least, they have started to push it a little bit more. And make that your top 3, as Kelly and Huffman were much slower at 31 7s and 31 8s. But these 3 Camrys, all definitely not saving anymore from what it appears to be. They are picking up their lap times. They are running decent ones at that, and they are staying a bunch of seconds ahead of everyone else. It's now more than about 5.5 seconds until you get to 7th place Wyatt Brackett, and then this huge heap of cars. Watch out, Logan Sturgeon right through the middle.
That's fresh tires, 4 wide down the back straightaway.
That's Eddie Smith down there. He makes it work, and they all do without wadding it up in 3 and 4. And Garrett Brown, Ross Harlow directly in the middle of all that. How scary does that get, Bradley? That is right on the edge of your seat.
I mean, if you're Eddie, you gotta go. But man, the moment there where you realize you're 4 wide and the spotter can't even compute what's happening, you better have somebody up on that box to tell you don't move.
We might have at the end of this race, Bradley, a 4 wide counter. Have we seen it twice?
Yes.
First time with Miranda and company, and then another 4 wide spiel there with everyone else on fresh and old tires, but they all keep it clean. And now we're all single file, so they have since calmed it down. That's definitely allowed Jesse Whittington to catch up to the likes of Brown and Ross Harlow. Meanwhile, there is Smith looking underneath of Alex Huffman, the 5th place Ford Mustang. Smith and Steven Harlow work to the inside, the 2 rookie drivers in tandem. All while Miranda leads it, going to lap 155. There will be at least 10 laps left before the end of stage number 2, and this is where you are licking your chops or biting your nails if you're Lawson Peel, Joe Sanchez, Shane Wyatt, and all of these cars who have spent the majority of this stage weaving through all of the lead lap traffic. They hope that this entire field will have to come down pit road, or else all the track position they were wanting to gain is going to be all for naught.
I just heard some more clutch pedal there by Miranda, so maybe back into the red now for the 99 team. Forster has fallen off about half a second gap, and then you have Austin Reedy another half a second back. Curtis Kelly in the 71, he's way out of the mix here. He is 4.5, almost 5 seconds away from Austin Reedy. But right now, this top 3, they either did it right. I don't know about you, but you said biting the nails. That's where I'm at right now.
I'd imagine Peel is in the same place. He has finally unlapped himself, so he will not be in the lucky dog spot. Instead, we'll give it to his teammate, Joe Sanchez, but there's the big difference. Miranda is now coming out of turn 2. Lawson Peel is rising out of turn 4. As much time as these two will put distance between each other, it's all in Peel's hope that these guys will have to come down at some point, that they will reach their limit before stage 1 is over, because you're thinking Peel, the first stage winner, is going to miss out completely if these all 10 plus drivers are able to stay out long enough on fuel.
Yeah, right now sitting in the 21st position. He accomplished 1 check mark here with unlapping himself, but the time that he has to make up is almost impossible. So he has to have these guys in front of him hit pit road or have something go on, maybe a caution to group him back up. I think now he's in the scenario where a caution wouldn't hurt him too bad. Miranda and these guys would come down pit road, but track position. Now the strategy comes into play as we have about 7 to go.
That's what it's all about. You're right, 7 to go before we end stage 2 here from Vegas. So this is where, if you're on that fine line of thinking about whether to pit or not, if you've been on the fence over the last several laps, here is really where you make your decision and make that call. Because if you come in now, you'll have maybe a couple of laps to fully cycle out, but if you go within 5 to go until the end of the stage, that's probably bed made. You're going to run this strategy dry. Austin Reedy has fallen back from Forrester and Miranda. He was pushing quite a bit on the 31 and the 99, but it appears he's just fallen off the pace over the last several laps. No complaints, though, for Reedy, who has won a bunch over his Sunoco Cup Series career and has won a race here at Las Vegas and knows how to position himself in the right way. But Forrester and Miranda now going to have to face the brunt of these 2 lapped Chevrolets. There goes Wyatt. There goes Ross Harlow. They've got Jonathan Cofield as well right behind on fresh rubber. They have to be really careful. 6 to go now, actually 4 to go into the stage.
Well, if you're Forrester right now, you're just going to let these guys go and let them get out of the way. Maybe they'll go up there and race side by side with Miranda and give you a shot. But was trying to see if maybe the 31 car was still in conservation mode because I heard the 99. He was still clutching it. He's been out in that clean air. And the same with Daytona. When you're the guy out front, you're losing 2, 3, 4 laps on this run. You got to clutch it a little bit more than the rest of the guys behind you in the draft.
Well, for Miranda, this is going to be a huge storyline because while he finished second and got 9 stage points after the first stage at Daytona, then came the second stage and he wasn't even able to place into the top 10. So for Miranda, this would be his first stage win and only his second stage top 3, crossing the line to lap 163. 2 laps to go before the end of stage 2, and then comes the question, does Colin Forrester turn up the intensity to make it one last push for the stage W?
He's got Eddie Smith on the outside. I think right now, if you're Forrester, you just kind of see if the 99 has enough fuel to make it. White flag's going to come up in the air now. And the 99 of Miranda off of turn 4. He's going to capitalize on all the stage points here today.
Miranda crossing the line, lap 164. No worries about the 2 Chevrolets going door to door. That is going to be for one of the lucky dog spots. In fact, one of the last spots before you get to the lap down cars. Eddie Smith has sort of clawed up through the mix, so it may be a 3-way fight as we close stage number 2. But off of turn number 4, Mario Miranda has the keys in hand. He has driven this Toyota Camry to the top. First stage win of 2024. Miranda with his first stage win of the season and only his second podium in the stage column after a second place stage 1 finish at Daytona. Colin Forrester makes it all 3 stages where he is finished inside the top 3. Austin Reedy picks up much needed stage points, who finishes 3rd. Alex Huffman survived long enough to come home 4th. Jesse Whittington to 5th. Chris Shoemaker 6th, 7th to Ross Harlow, 8th to Austin Shoemaker, 9th to Wyatt Brackett and Garrett Brown to close out the rest of the top 10. One thing I noticed there too was that Curtis Kelly severely dropped off the pace, fell down to 12th and missed out on stage points here at lap 165. But you gotta certainly commend the job by Miranda, Forrester, Reedy, and everyone else to go 67 laps on that 1 tank of fuel.
Exactly what they needed to do. Now they're down on the apron to just make it to pit road because I'm guaranteed that it's very, very close. And kudos to the guys that were able to unlap themselves just before that stage break. So they're in a little bit better scenario on the toss-up here. And you're probably not going to see anyone stay out. I think they're all going to come down pit road.
And we should expect everyone to come in. So after this stage yellow, biggest drivers to be put a lap down, Justin Erb, now on the lead lap, but then it's Logan Sturgeon. Of course, Chris Progar, Justin Hendry, among those that really did come down for service and for fuel. And luckily for Peels, Sanchez, Wyatt, and a handful of others, they fully unlapped themselves before the stage break. As here's everyone coming in. Lift up the jacks for almost everyone. Ross Harlow finally gets tires on his Chevrolet Camaro. Back there should be the 12 car of Lawson Peel, but the 31 unleashes to the gas first. He wins the race off the lane.
So Forrester able to edge out Miranda. It looked like an extra second almost in the box for the 99 car, and that probably has something to do with completely running it out of fuel.
Miranda goes in, 15.8 seconds in his stall. Drops to second place, and it is Colin Forrester. So far, undefeated in podiums from all the stages this season. Miranda, though, with his first stage win of 2024, will be back with the next 100 laps and under here from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Don't go anywhere. We've got more for you on the other side here on VSPEED.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller,
Yeah,
need an F-150 for Smith build.
got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What's up, Doug? What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
2 stages down from Las Vegas Motor Speedway and under 100 laps to go. Welcome back to our coverage of Race 2 of the Season 7 Sunoco Cup Series with our broadcasting live on VSPEED. Bradley Cooper alongside Kenneth Bueno with you for the call. And Bradley, what a call by Colin Forrester, Mario Miranda, Austin Reedy, you name it. A ton of drivers stayed out almost 70 laps full on a tank of fuel, were able to stay out ahead at the end of the second stage, and now they've got full control. Your thoughts after the first 2 stages and what to expect in the last stage for tonight?
I expect a lot of these guys that fell out, like Harlow, Peel, and Whittington, some of these guys that are deep in this field, to resurge, but do they use their stuff up? A lot of strategy about to be played here in this final stage as we get set to go back green.
We've got 2 Toyota Camrys at the front. They were spearheading the effort to stay out as long as possible in stage 2. Colin Forrester won the race off of pit road, hence he leads this next green flag restart. Final stage underway from Vegas. And that might have been a fast banana strategy call to get Austin Reedy underneath Mario Miranda. So the fast banana Toyota Camrys command first and second. Down the Nellis straightaway, we are about 3 wide. Further back, that was Curtis Kelly, who swung out of line almost underneath the 4 car of Chris Shoemaker. He goes up against Austin Shoemaker. They make contact. Curtis is in the wall. Around he goes. Caution is out for the second time tonight.
With all the 4 wide that we've seen here today, that looked pretty mild, but it just looked like maybe a miscue by somebody. Thought they were clear. We'll go back on the instant replay, take a look at it, but it just looked like maybe a little bit of netcode as well.
You're right, Bradley. What happens here between Curtis and Shoemaker? Kelly looked underneath 3 wide, then backed out of line, and I think just drove it in pretty hard.
They had contact on the
Entering turn
backstretch
3.
prior to that as well.
So here's the exit of 4, just slides up on the 14, and I saw the margin of error being so fine and so minimal. Curtis Kelly just makes the slight contact with the 14. Not sure whether that was B from about the half lap before on the back straightaway, but you're right, Bradley. They did make initial contact as the 14 slid down on the 71. Here's a better look at it. So that's why he swung down line.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was beef, but he did drive it in there pretty deep, but then runs out of racetrack right about here. And if you're a Shoemaker on the outside, you really don't have much racetrack left to give.
You could fit a sheet of paper between the 71 and the 14 of Shoemaker, and then that paper just got torn off completely. Curtis makes the contact, and all of a sudden he's into the outside wall. He will have to duck it down pit road and get some damage repairs. We should not expect tires. We should expect a splash of fuel at least, just to help out with his strategy to make it to the end. That's a hard shunt for the 71 of Curtis Kelly, who, Bradley, after Daytona, was on the outskirts of the top 15 through points. He held on to what was basically one of the last spots in the top 20, tied for 17th in the standings with Garrett Brown, and he was the only Fast Banana Toyota Camry that did not share a spot with the rest of his team in the top 10 from point standings, and he had done a lot of substantial work to keep himself inside the top 5, stayed out with all of his teammates in stage 2, and all of a sudden, just that minimal mistake is going to kill his track position.
Well, and then I think we go back to Daytona. There was a mistake made on pit road for the 71 car that put him in that spot as well. And, you know, as far as teammates go, you're all working on a game plan week to week. You all strategize, but at the end of the day, you've got your own game plan that you don't really share with guys. And maybe there's one of those handbooks out there that you just kind of jot things down and say, okay, this is what I need to do personally that I can improve on, and he'll find himself up there with his teammates soon enough.
And we know there are drivers who certainly think about that, Bradley. They go race by race and say, what did I do here? What did I do there? Can I improve? How can I improve? And for Curtis Kelly, just a little mistake there running in the heat of the moment out of 4 gets him into the contact. We're going to be under yellow for just the second on-track accident. And looking at the trends from Las Vegas, over the last several races, I'm going to pull out my inner Larry McReynolds here, but there have been an average of at least 7.5 cautions over the last 3 races here from the Sin City. And our last long race at 200 laps, we had a total of 10 cautions, and that, of course, does include the stage breaks. We have a total of maybe 4 cautions total, Bradley, and I'm not sure whether you jinxed us, because under break you said we were down in only 2 hours here, and you've seen other leagues go a little bit longer, but I mean, now we've got our caution, our second one at least.
Well, and you know, these guys are going to get more and more intense. That we're 173 out of 276. We still have plenty of time for it to get crazy. We saw the same at Daytona, but you get a week off, you get to think about it. Here we are, shaping back up for another exciting event.
And look at the heavy contenders now. Colin Forrester, Mario Miranda, Ross Harlow, but in that list is not Lawson Peel, who's going to be rolling off 16th on the next restart. For that 12 car, maybe you think of Joe Sanchez in the mix as well, those 2 Drinkin' Bros Racing teammates. Where does your recovery start? How do you start that recovery here in the 3rd stage?
I think the recovery starts with the strategy. Now we got this caution that extends this a little bit because this is the longest stage of the race. Now you can breathe a little easier. You shaved off some of that time. These leaders are grouped back up. Let's see what we got here with the top 5, because they're on a different strategy when it comes to who can run longer than the rest of the field.
Everybody's on an even playing field, though, that's for sure. Everybody on fresh tires, nobody else coming into pit road because of this quick caution on the gun from lap 174. We'll double them up with Fast Banana still in control, this time on the inside and outside of row number 1. Forrester will have discretion at the green, followed by his teammate Reedy on the top. Ross Harlow and Mario Miranda flanking either side on row number 2. Brandon Banks in a race-high 5th. Haven't talked much about Banks in his Valvoline Chevrolet tonight. Alex Huffman, Chris Shoemaker, Wyatt Brackett, Garrett Brown, and Robert Hunrada, who rolled off from the end of the line tonight. Green flag in the air, restart lap 175, and what absolutely happened to the top lane? Checked up severely. Reedy falls back to 3rd before turn 1.
And there's some 3 wide back here. It looks like the 14 car, the one that got some of that damage earlier, he's fallen through the field quickly. The nose on that Ford Mustang has seen better days, and he loses about 12, 14, 15, and into the back of him. That's the 71, I believe.
Curtis Kelly not getting dealt any good cards at this juncture. That 14 is basically torn up on the front end. Curtis Kelly having trouble again getting by. Chris Progar will make it 3 wide, and this 14 of Shoemaker is just surviving by a thread back to 1 and 2.
That car has heavy damage. It is not up to par here to keep pace with these leaders. He falls out of the top 10. And now a change for the lead. The 3 of Harlow, 3 wide here for the battle.
And he really didn't have any damage before that. Not sure entirely how it happened, or was with the 71 of Kelly on the recent caution and did not come down pit road to save it. Brandon Banks has moved up to second place. Drinking Bros Racing now occupying a top 3 spot. Banks with a heap of a run out of turn 2 after starting 36. And Harlow back in control to make it a bow tie, 1-2, back to the stripe.
So we kind of see what we saw at the beginning of the race. These guys single file out, start to sort it, but creeping up into this top 10, look who it is.
And there he is, the champion from the last season and the season before, Lawson Peel, diving his way through traffic, getting through Wyatt Brackett inside the top 10. Look at the swivel down low from cars right behind him. It's getting contentious with Muscarella, Robert Hunrada, Joe Sanchez, and Kip Easley up inside the top 15 after starting 29th. And this, Bradley, is where it's at its most dangerous.
When you remember, Sanchez was on that different strategy, so he knows how these cars are going to handle on the long run. He has a pretty good idea that you can even out these tires and stay up in the top 15. But right now, he's hanging on just on the edge of it in 13th with all these guys that maybe stayed out longer. And their speed now is back in the race car. They're getting very crazy from 10th on back.
It's starting to get sketchy, and you've got a lot of guys who theoretically have nothing to lose. Robert Hunrada, who started deep in this field after an end-of-line penalty for disconnecting after the drivers' meeting. He's got a shot at decent points. Kip Easley the same. Ray Rogers, we mentioned his crawl up through the field from 38th starting position. A lot of these guys missed out on stage points. Now, Bradley, it's all about the last stint. You go the last 87 laps perfectly, you execute, and you get a good finishing points position. That's enough to hold you high until you get to Bristol Motor Speedway in 2 weeks' time. A look on board with Hunrada in his number 37 Chevrolet. The driver from one of the new camps here in this series, Big Fish Motorsports, with a new 2 alongside Jonathan Cofield, and the rookie Hunrada still in this fight against Easley for a top 15 spot.
So we began this race with 39 cars, and 38 of them still out on the racetrack. Dakota Curtis, the last one on there. Steven Stampen trying to tough it out. We talked about the clutch pedal he was using to get around this place and setting your car up to just be out here trying to turn some laps. So again, shout out to Stampen for what he has accomplished here and the win in the first race, but hopefully a fast recovery. This top 5 has shaken up. Harlow and Forrester have been up here. Miranda have been up here, but you got Shoemaker, Banks. Looks like Aaron Adcock on the cusp of it as well in the 17 car.
You've got 2 big spoilers here. Adcock, one of them, in that 17. And then there's Brandon Banks, who basically shot out of a cannon out of nowhere. We did not see Brandon Banks at all inside this top 5. Maybe you could make a case that he was near the top 10, but it was never this strong. Banks implementing his consistency strategy that he employs in a lot of other leagues, and most of the time it works out to his benefit. He does have to play a bit of offense and defense at the same time, just because Colin Forrester is right behind him and he's building up runs on Harlow for potentially a battle for the lead. But Brandon Banks is going to love the position he's in right now, Bradley. Even if he doesn't take the lead away, this is prime positioning for what's going to be the strategy race moving forward.
Yeah, another big mover, 34 positions gained, and if you would have talked about who do you pick here in this big field, you got the familiar names, but Banks just kind of sleeping on us in the first 2 stages, now in second spot, trying to take away the lead. He's got the good run here on Harlow. He's done this several times where he gets that exit off of 2, and he gets right up on the bumper into 3.
And this is a driver with only 1 career Sunoco Cup Series win, fighting against the driver in front in Harlow, who has a total of 9 career Sunoco Cup Series victories. Brandon Banks, when he talked to us after winning at Dover Motor Speedway, he expressed just how difficult it was to win in this series, and that was back in Season 6. You add in a couple more drivers, you get in a pretty big new field for Season 7. In 2024, there's contact further back, and I believe that was Isaac Mock who made a bit of contact with Richard Swavely, and they go a bit sideways and they save it.
And more contact with Progar. They're 3 wide door-to-door. The 19 on the outside. They're still 3 wide as they go into 1, and Progar leans on him, lets him know he's not happy.
They are door-to-door again. They touched once more entering turn 1. They clear Brad Fulham on the very outside. Mock is going to not have the momentum on the Nellis straightaway. He'll stay underneath Brad Fulham, but that was super close for Mock to potentially be at the heart of our third on-track caution of the night. And looking at it, it appeared that Richard Swavely got sideways after hitting the apron, Bradley. That's something we have seen twice, and it seems like it's sort of like having a nickel. It's kind of weird that it happened 2 times.
Well, and these drivers, the intensity picking up, they're not giving, they're taking. That's what you have to do in the final stage of any race. You find a hole and you put your car there, and you saw Isaac Mock all the way off the racetrack come right back up next to the 19 and the 7 of Progar. He was not going to lift, and now 3 wide again as they go into 1.
These are drivers, once more, with absolutely nothing to lose, have been hanging in the back for most of this contest and have an ability, if they can, to move up through track position, and they're going to race as hard as possible. Mentioned parity to describe this series at Daytona just 2 weeks ago. Well, you've got a lot of parity through the mid-pack and even further back through the field. There is not a place on this speedway where you are not seeing a battle for position, or at least a developing battle for position. Mock is heavily side drafting Brad Fulham at the entry of turn 1, while we look on board with Chuck Phelps in the 75, getting a popcorn front row seat of all of this. And we're back to 3 wide.
Fulham on the outside again. I'm sure he's tired of feeling this way, but his line in the entry of these corners is kind of influencing these guys to do it. And if he wants to make it stop, he's going to have to drop down a lane at least to keep that 47 car behind him. There he goes now to the middle in 1 and 2. But yeah, deep in this field, it's not much different up here. Got more side by side. Eddie Smith gets past Justin Winters. There's a crossover now as they go into what would be 3 and 4. Winters, another driver we haven't talked too much about, but solid reviews in chat. A lot of people shouting him out. So here he is sitting in the 18th position. He began this race in about this spot. Smith, a little off pace now. He's fighting back here to stay in the top 20.
Battle of 2 different teams bearing Ford Mustangs. Eddie Smith, the rookie from Poman Motorsports and Allen's Legacy Racing, repped here by the 22 of Justin Winters. And they've got the teammate Alex Huffman rolling in the 10 machine back in 20th place. Meanwhile, we look back at the running for the top spot. Brandon Banks stole it away from Harlow, and now in the middle of this Chevrolet sandwich is the Victory Fuel Mario Miranda machine. He's turned on the intensity. He's hopped on the gas pedal. A big run out of 2, will not use it. Runs up high in 3 and 4. But you can tell Bradley that's his attempt to cut down and get a big run out of 4. He's got it. Does he employ it back to turn 1?
Well, he knows he has to go because the 12 machine of Lawson Peel has worked his way into the top 5, and he's not too far behind these guys. Side-by-side battles for 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Forrester on the inside of Harlow. On the exit of 2, Harlow a little sketchy coming off the corner, but doesn't lose the momentum. Pass for the lead now into 3.
Harlow has to pick his battles as the leaders go side by side while forging a battle of his own between himself and Forrester. Miranda clears up ahead. Miranda back to the lead at lap 195.
And now we're still trying to settle it out for 3rd. Lawson Peel peeks to the middle, trying to get some clean air on the front of that Chevrolet Camaro, the SpaceX Chevy. 31 car. Look at the 3 of Harlow. He looks really loose there on the outside. He did that a moment ago, and I'm starting to wonder if the handling is going away from this machine.
You're losing a lot of the bumps if you're going on the outside in 1 and 2, which is good news, but the other end of the sword is that you're using so much more throttle. You wear out the right rear so heavily in comparison to the right front. Harlow is maintaining his ground for now, going to remain on the outside of Forrester, back in the chase for turn 1, but they have to keep their eyes peeled for the 2-time champ of Lawson Peel. Back to the inside, goes underneath of the Valhalla Project Chevrolet, backs out of line before he can officially duck underneath in turns 3 and 4. But you're right, Bradley. Harlow does look a little looser than usual. I think he stabilized the Chevrolet for now, but all of that cost him track position. And now Peel, with a loose moment out of 4, has to deal with Adcock, Brackett, Muscarella, Shoemaker, and everyone else in the top 10.
When you see the cloud covers really picked up and this track is revving up, as you see the 17 of Adcock get really loose. Now 3 wide, another dive here, and Reedy's going to go to the inside and take 2 positions away. So Adcock, who was just about in the top 5, falls back almost out of the top 10.
Got to be really careful if you're Austin Reedy. Spent a majority of stage 2 inside the top 5, or at least working his way through all of the traffic, and he's at the bottom 3 wide with a Chevrolet and a Ford. He backs out of line. Sanchez also in a 3 wide battle of his own. Adcock and Rogers playing the 2 roles on the inside lane. Sanchez, though, breaks free. He's going to hold on to a top 10 spot, and it's getting supremely racing up here, Bradley. We know that there's at least one more pit stop on the way that these drivers have to complete before this is over. But I guess why not? Run for all the track position you can. It's led to the 3 wide battles we've seen, and now potentially another bout ready for the top spot. Here come the Camrys out of 2. Forrester to the bottom.
Didn't get to run off of 2, but he will try the momentum swing again into 3 and 4. Forrester, who has put himself in the mix for every single stage, still on the hunt for that victory. We're starting to pull away from 3rd position. Harlow now on the outside of Banks.
And remember, they have to pit soon, so we are going to see this field separate as long as we stay green. Banks had a poor exit out of turn 4, washed up the hill, and lost 2 spots in turn to Harlow and Peel, while Forrester dives underneath and makes the lunge on your race leader, Mario Miranda. So it's Fast Banana versus Race Team. We've seen them go at it almost all night long. If you count stage 2 onwards, Miranda holds on and to the line, lap 200, even at the stripe, back to turn 1 and 2.
They're going to remain even into 1 and 2. Off the exit of the corner, the drag race down Nellis Straight. Just tough to pass, and Miranda playing defense really well at that exit speed. The 31 down to the bottom. Washes up the racetrack a little bit. He's going to lift out of the throttle, and now Miranda plays the defense and wins the battle.
And what about the position there from Miranda to hold on to the outside as they're catching up to Curtis Kelly, lap machine, who's going to let them go at the very top lane. What are you employing there when you're that middle car forcing the other down low? And what kind of strategy does that help you employ as you're battling for position? Because it seems to be a very big part of racing here in Vegas, where the draft is so important. All the lines are very important. All the throttle input is very important. How mentally does that affect the strategic part of the game plan when you're holding on to your stand on the outside and forcing the other guy to use less throttle down low?
Mentally, you're starting to get impatient. You might make more mistakes, and I know from my experiences driving on this simulator, it's very easy to see I've got a position, I know I'm faster than you, and it doesn't matter because you can't get the line and get that exit. So as far as the driver's standpoint, you got to pace yourself and go back to the basics. Okay, now I'm going to set this guy up. Find the weak spot. Car in the grass there. I think that was Shane Wyatt. Actually, no, that was the 94 Whittington, and he's into the side. That was the 8 of Kip Easley. There's still green. We're going to have to go back and unpack this. Whittington went through the grass for the entire straightaway.
Whittington has a fall from grace out to 17th. And there he is on the outside of 3 and 4. The look back at what transpired off of 4. And it was a dive underneath the 17 of Aaron Adcock. This is about the lap before, Bradley.
Yeah.
What happens here?
Well, they set each other up. They're going to be side by side all the way around this track, but they're looking at 3 wide here. This is probably what starts it. You have the lap car and then a dive to the inside. Now the 94 maybe gets loose. I'm not sure entirely.
He just swaps in front of the 17. There's the contact. So Adcock just gets into the rear of the 94, goes grass hopping and saves it. Everyone else goes by, and then right as he's coming back up the line, swipes right into the 8 of Kip Easley. A wonderful job for Easley to hold on to that race car and prevent another on-track yellow, but for Whittington, the race has fully fallen apart. He has dropped to 17th, now has to work his way back through strategy, while Colin Forrester pulled the trigger and tried to fire a bullet at Mario Miranda for the race in the lead. Peel got by Harlow, and here is Shoemaker versus Reedy. Back to turn 1, this is for 6th.
So it all happening so fast, trying to keep up with all the pace of these drivers. The 4-car started to chip away at the top 5 again. It looks like the inside in 1 and 2 is all but useless. These guys cannot complete a pass in those corners.
This is like a full core press at 180 miles an hour. Ross Harlow is slow. He drops down. He enters pit road. He called for it about the half lap before, and this is the first driver, Bradley Cooper, to take on pit road at lap 208.
Maybe a same scenario that happened to him in the first stage of this race where he lost a ton of time. Is this too early? This is right on that mark where those drivers that won stage 2 in the top 10, they pushed it a little bit beyond this point. So we know we can make it on fuel, but if you're the 3, you're the first one down pit road again. How did that play out the first time? We'll have to see how it shakes out.
Well, Harlow did this earlier in the race. If you remember, back to the first 2 stages, he pitted first. However, you're pitting a lap 209 of a 267 lapper. It seems like a long, long while you have to stay out, and that does include catching and closing like we saw this 99 and 31 do in the entirety of stage number 2. So you're really, really getting past the window. Slow 4 by Miranda leaves the door open for the Dunkin' Donuts Forrester car. Stays nose to tail. Miranda chirps over the radio, not sure whether that's going to be the call to pit. However, Forrester doesn't care, goes back to the inside. They have pulled out at least a second to the 3rd place machine of Lawson Peel. Forrester not giving it up, but Miranda holding his own in the middle and stays put. P1.
Some more defense off of turn 2. It's getting easier and easier to do. The sun's back out. This track's heating back up. Take a look at our track temperature, 91 degrees. It dropped tremendously. I think we were somewhere around 106, 104, and it's progressively worked lower and lower, but now that the sun is back out, you're gonna see that number come up.
And this is also where you start to think about the oval refresh update, right? We haven't really brought that up at tonight's mile and a half feature at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but because of the oval refresh update, it has allowed for multiple grooves to be of use, specifically at tracks like these, where if everyone runs the bottom, puts all the energy on the inside lane, over the run, past at least 10 to 15 laps in a stint, that inside is going to get so slick. Part of that is why you've seen a lot of drivers experiment with higher lanes, much like you're seeing Adcock do here in this 3-white fight between himself, Stephen Harlow, and Ray Rogers, rising out of turn 2.
Oh, car in the wall. I believe that was the 23 of Rogers actually tagged it coming out of 2, so pick up a spot there.
And he lost 2 as well, because Eddie Smith has worked his way up to 12. Jared Adcock loose out of 4. You're right on board with the Season 6 Talladega winner. Drove for Big Fish Motorsports this season on the helm with Poman Motorsports, the new Ford Mustang team, alongside Ray Rogers, Chuck Phelps, and of course his teammate behind him, Eddie Smith. So both of them running inside the top 15 and closing in on Wyatt Brackett.
Now this all happening, meanwhile, the 3-car is the only one that's hit pit road since we last talked about it. And maybe James Kunkel came down, but a few of these drivers that were outside of the top 10, I don't know your opinion on this, Kenneth, but I think that was a little too early for us.
It seemed like it was way too early, and I imagine that he's going to either hope for a yellow to come out so that he can get an extra splash of fuel and make it, or if he's throwing the sink out the window and is just going to throw everything at this strategy, I guess why not? But for Harlow, he's going to have to save a bunch. And he's here in 29th place, the second car a lap down right behind Chris Progar. And I don't believe he's saving at all. At least from what it appears, it doesn't look like he is clutching and coasting. So he is either looking for a two-stop strategy as everyone else pits first, or I'm not sure, but this was a really lengthy strategy call by the 3 car of Ross Harlow. But for everyone else, they're approaching 49 laps in this stint. Bradley, what's your marker for coming in? Are you looking at lap 50? Are you stretching it to lap 55? Where's the money lap to enter pit road and ensure you can make it the whole way around? Because by now, past lap 220, you can make it on fuel.
Well, if I'm outside the top 15, I think I run it out as far as I can, pray there's a caution, so then that way some of the drivers that come in before that mark will end up behind you. But now you're looking at the top 10. They've spread out a little bit from Reedy and these guys that are further ahead, about a second and a half from Banks. I think if you're in this scenario from Banks to around 13th, 14th spot, maybe you just split the run in half. I think that's the wise decision. If you're Miranda and those guys, maybe a little short pit because you're fighting with Forrester right now. This is 3 different scenarios for when you should come down, I think.
Solid side-by-side battle between Brackett and Eddie Smith. This is for the last spot in the top 10. Brackett came home 4th last time we visited Las Vegas Motor Speedway, while Eddie Smith is looking to get a decent finish in his rookie campaign for the Sunoco Cup Series. Brushed the outside wall for a bit, and in comes Aaron Adcock, the Poman Motorsports teammate, entering turns 1 and 2. But you bring up a really good point, Bradley, for Miranda and Forrester. And a bunch of these guys, they may end up short pitting, just going for a splash, maybe some fuel, but pit with enough time to cycle out, but really in the crunch. But then there's that prospect of, do you wait too late, and can that hurt you, especially if cautions come out, or if it just stays green and the track position doesn't really help you at race end. We'll look on board with Harlow here in 8th.
The position's just, it's key, and you got to kind of match or out-strategize the guys that are near you, and you've got Miranda, Forrester, and Peel, and you guarantee that all 3 of those guys right now are communicating or thinking about that strategy. What can I do to be different and win? That's the decision you have to make. It's the race-winning choice. Pit road is really going to be that decision. We've stayed green. I don't think we're going to see it. I think these guys have spread out enough that we're going to see this race go green to the end.
And we haven't seen that many on-track cautions, so it really could be impossible or very difficult to bank on a yellow to come out, because we haven't seen it frequently. If you're looking at Daytona or another track where, let's say you had more cautions, sure, you can bank on a caution and be at least a little confident that a yellow would come out at some point, giving you a shot with your strategy. But based on how clean this race has been, you really can't imagine this race going to the end having a bunch of yellows. It could, of course, change. You never know. Don't want to put the commentator's jinx out there, but this race has gone by so clean that, you know, you could just say that this race is going to come down to pit road. Tag of the wall by Muscarella up front of this pack.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be worse than it was. He was able to skate by, but he does lose a lot of time in the 55. He's going to miss pit road, maybe.
He holds on to it. He brings it in with Wyatt Brackett and Richard Swabley to join. But that was so sketchy. And hopped on the brakes, Bradley, in the middle of the corner, in the middle lane. That was right in front of Joe Sanchez. We might have to get an onboard look at that 55 car, because that was close. Here's Sanchez right behind Steven Harlow. The Cobalt Chevrolet of Alex Muscarella up the road. He's going to stop for pit road here. Oh. Sanchez escaped one there.
He almost got tagged by the 17 as well, so double check on that one. You should go buy a lottery ticket after this race.
We got 2 more takers on pit road. You saw Steven Harlow on that replay alongside Joe Sanchez. He has taken his car into the lane. So has Chris Shoemaker, driver of the Prestige Worldwide Racing Ford Mustang. There he is with the jacks lifted up on the left side. We've got more takers. This time, Sanchez, Adcock, Whittington, and 4th car in line, Shane Wyatt in the 27. So this is where the bulk of the field is coming in. 57 laps into their stint. They are all calling for pit road. And we await the decision by the main leaders inside the top 5. Miranda stays out. So does Forrester. Peel will do the same. Austin Reedy will hold on for an extra lap. It's going to be 5th place Brandon Banks in the lane, lap 224.
And again, kudos to Brandon Banks to put himself up here in this top 5 for the end of this race. This could be one of those key factors that put him back up into the top 3 to finish this thing out. He was holding on pretty close to these guys in front of him.
And this is where it's going to get fun, Bradley, because you've got all these mid-pack guys coming in soon or now, and then you've got the leaders that have the decision weighing on their shoulders about what they can do. And this, again, like you said, Bradley, on strategy, will be the game plan for the win. This is going to be for the top spot if you're Miranda, Forrester, Peel, or Reedy, and maybe even Eddie Smith was a shot at winning this thing from 5th place. All of this is coming down to what will be the first win of the season for any of these drivers. Mario Miranda will hold on for another extra lap, and so will the 31 of Forrester, but in comes Lawson Peel, locks up the brakes, entering pit road. Is that a speeding penalty? Yes, it is. Peel is docked with speeding. Wow.
Yeah, he missed it by probably a good 200 feet there. That's unfortunate there. Peel out of the picture now. Unless we get a couple of yellows, he's on the hold penalty now. Here comes Miranda down pit road, the 31 right behind him of Forrester. Reedy's going to stay out. A lot to unpack here. Eddie Smith out there still as well. Gonna stretch it a little bit further.
Such a dagger for Lawson Peel, the 2-time consecutive Sunoco Cup Series champion, has to wait it out on pit road. A costly mistake, Bradley, that I mentioned earlier, going from 165 to 50 in the span of about 5 seconds. You're turning and braking at the same time. He locked him all up, and that was not enough to decrease his speed to 50 miles an hour and gets the black flag. Stephen Harlow was also docked with a speeding penalty down pit road, so he will have to serve an extra time. Meanwhile, Austin Reedy holds on to control of the race lead. He's going to slow it down and bring it to pit road at lap 229. We know all of these guys can make it from here on out, and the VSPEED car is going to lead a lap at lap 230.
Congrats to Eddie Smith, first lap led here in the Sunoco Cup Series. But he's still going to come down pit road as well, so factoring it in, we've got Ray Rogers behind him, Charles Feltz. Looks like all the way back to Austin Reed. Well, actually, Alex Huffman, the last car on the racetrack. So 6 cars have yet to pit, and we're approaching that 40 to go mark. So these guys definitely good on fuel. Huffman gets into the side. I can't tell who that is. I think it's the 9 machine. That was Bill Schoonover.
Schoonover way up the racetrack. Austin Reedy has taken his car out of pit road. Miranda and Forrester sit 9th and 10th. First 2 cars, a lap down or more. We've got 8 cars total on the lead lap with 36 laps to go from Las Vegas, Nevada. And you're right, we still have many drivers left to pit. Schoonover, one of them, Alex Huffman, Robert Henrada, and then Chuck Feltz, Ray Rogers, and of course, your race leader now, Eddie Smith. Look at him being split through the middle. 3 wide by the Camrys. Forrester, in turn, is going to take over what might be the net race lead. A crucial pass on the tri-oval.
They used that leader there as a pick to kind of set up the pass, and the 31 said, okay, I'll take this side, you take that side, and we'll see who comes out on top. But it's not over yet.
Eddie Smith dives in on pit road, so he calls his run quits on lap 232, all by himself down the pit lane. Still remaining are about 5 drivers left to pit on their stint, making 4, as Ross Harlow will be the 6th place car. He is not clutching and coasting. He sits 24 laps into his stint in position number 6, and he holds on to what is going to be a 1.2-second advantage over the 48 of Alex Muscarella, who pitted 11 laps ago. Look at this 3-wide action. Jesse Whittington directly in the middle. Shane Wyatt for track position. Whittington and Progrard touch.
Maybe a little bit of earlier still coming into play there. I seem to remember a 94 car leaning on the 7 of Progrard at some point in this race.
Man, it's been fun watching all these drivers get at it. Whittington and Progrard have met before. Rogers on pit road, so is Robert Hunrada. Chuck Feltz is calling in for pit road this time. There is the Huffman number 10 for Allen's Legacy Racing of Alex Huffman. Chuck Feltz for Poman Motorsports enters pit road. This should be the last of those to pit now. It's going to be Harlow, Muscarella, Forrester, Miranda, and Brandon Banks, your top 5. And this is going to be crucial, Bradley, because you've got Harlow, who's throwing a sink directly at the strategy. Alex Muscarella, who's got a heap of steam behind him and might make this challenge for the lead possible. Entering turn 1, your Forrester and Miranda. What's your mindset here in these last 32?
Well, you're sitting about 3 seconds back right now. Muscarella is a little bit closer than you are on these tires, so I don't think you're as advantageous compared to the 48 machine right now, who's pulling away from Ross Harlow. 27 laps on the stint for the 3 car, 13 laps, now 14 for Muscarella. Forster and Miranda only 8 laps, but that's still a lot of time, and I don't think the fall off is that big for only, we're talking about what, 4 or 5 lap difference in tires here?
Yeah, and that's a strategy that came out of nowhere too. For Muscarella, had been hanging around mid-pack all race long, turned to the black cobalt Lowe's colors this evening from Las Vegas. Same thing that Jimmy Johnson did back in 2017. And for Colin Forrester and Mario Miranda, they're tuned out to about 3 seconds. So it is possible they can catch up to Muscarella before it's all said and done. But it also is about, Bradley, how they handle their set of tires. Because they've got Brandon Banks, the tertiary car, in this second line. And they're going to have to make sure they don't use their rubber soon enough to the point where they either equalize or fall off in comparison to Muscarella and Harlow. They're within 2.5 seconds and closing, but it's all about if they have enough time, or are they pushing too hard?
Yeah, it's about how they handle each other as well, because if they get to racing each other, you can pretty much throw that out the window. They're not catching anymore. Right now, single filed out, and that last time by, we're talking about almost a full second over Harlow and half a second on your leader, Muscarella. Speed-wise, they are catching them quickly.
You're also looking at 2 drivers inside this top 5 that finished 33rd or worse at Daytona. So they're looking for the biggest rebound of all time, bigger than a Shaq rebound back in 2001. Because Alex Muscarella, who finished 33rd, started 8th, ran up front for most of the affair, and then got into a back straightaway crash that really was out of his control. It was internet that made him blink in the middle of the inside line, and he got turned around on the back straightaway. That was a tough end to the Daytona race and the opener for the 48 of Muscarella. But here, can turn it around with a strategy call that could pay off entering the last 27 laps of this race. However, Miranda and Forrester are only within 1.2 seconds and counting, so the 48 car has to play the defense of his life in the middle of lap traffic as well.
Yeah, a lot of lap traffic here playing a factor. The 41 car gets around him, and that's going to change the clean air on the front end of that 48. Doesn't have quite the drive through 3 and 4 that he's been having. Even though he's been losing time, now it's even worse. He lost probably a full second almost over Miranda and Forrester, and Harlow not there to protect or hold them up. He's relying on lap traffic behind him to keep these guys at bay, and it looks like the 90 now is going to look to the inside. That's Sean Kalis.
They're taking away the lines from Muscarella. Kalis falls back. He remains side by side with the next car right alongside him, which is going to be, I believe, that 28 car up the road. Yes, it is, of KC United. Now make it 3 wide. Forster punches his nose underneath. Miranda's going to follow. That's dangerous.
They made quick work of these lap cars. They have to. Muscarella is going to be under fire within a lap.
Muscarella said, hit me. and he might just bust over 21. As Forster and Miranda dive underneath, they've got a head of steam coming out of 4, and this may be too strong of a run for Muscarella to ignore. There goes Forster up top. Miranda slices down low.
He's
He
sideways.
turns the 48. Muscarella and Miranda to the outside wall, and that will be the caution with 24 to go.
I thought he was going to give him the inside. I think Miranda thought the same thing. But he played defense on the bottom.
The second straight week. The second straight race that Muscarella is in contention to win within the final 20. And he gets turned by Miranda entering turn 1. Here's another look at it, Bradley. Forster, of course, best decision to go up. Miranda tried to thread the needle inside the very little space available.
And I just kind of wonder if Miranda thought, well, those guys were side by side coming through that tri-oval. Do I go down low, allow them to race each other? I don't think he was so much blocking Miranda as he was just trying to get out of his way.
There's another look at it. Miranda diving underneath, and yeah, there's not enough space to hold those two cars. Miranda is committed to that line. He figured probably that Muscarella was going to give him way because he's on older set. Here's a look at it from the Victory Fuel Toyota Camry. Forster up high. Look at the space that runs out in turn 1.
That opens the floodgates now to pit road and everybody down. This bails out Lawson Peel for the moment. I know that he went a couple laps down, and cautions breed cautions, so with about 20 to go here, he could be back in a scenario where he has a shot to at least finish top 10 at the least.
Could finish in good points paying position. Forster out of pit road first. Miranda, not enough damage to take him out of contention, so he comes out second. Brandon Banks in third. Ross Harlow, who gets saved by this caution, is in fourth. Back in fifth, Chris Shoemaker, Austin Reedy, Aaron Adcock, Eddie Smith, Wyatt Brackett, and Joe Sanchez. But you're right, Lawson Peel, who is on the lead lap, is going to stay out and get a wave around. We'll have a chance to pit and at least hold on to it for the moment. But this is where the caution ultimately affects the race. And I imagine, Bradley, that Miranda would be taken out because of that crash with Muscarella entering turn 1. But it appears he's fine. These two now in contention for the W with Brandon Banks as the spoiler. How about that?
Well, Banks proved that he could be up here in this top 3. He's got the short run speed, and that's going to fit right here with how many laps remain. Ross Harlow as well. So with the 3 car, this caution couldn't have came at a better time. If we can run this thing out green, I think Harlow could get up here and maybe mix it up with the 31, the 9 car, or the 99. And you know, Chris Shoemaker, he's kind of been sleeping back there in this top 5 all day as well. So now where we narrow this run down, these guys aren't going to be as conservative. And you see Miranda and Forster have been racing each other with the strategy. If they get to racing each other with their cars, it could spell trouble for their chances at a win.
And how many times have we seen side-by-side for the lead invite the whole party? Everyone from third on back has a chance at getting to the top spot as long as those top 2 cars are door-to-door. And we know that Forster has already tried to pull the move under Miranda, under green, and during strategy. Miranda, we'd assume, will do the same if he has the opportunity given to him. And then it's all on Brandon Banks, Harlow, Shoemaker, all those other drivers to make a move of their own and gun for the spot. Speaking of gunning for a spot, Brandon Banks is looking for his first top 3 of the season after running in 15th at the end of the Daytona opener. Ross Harlow will gun for his second straight podium appearance after starting inside the top, I believe it was the top 3 he did, and then finished in second right behind the eventual race winner in Steven Stampen. And then Chris Shoemaker looking for his first top 10, let alone top 3 after finishing in 20th at Daytona. So there are a lot of storylines and also a lot of teams. I don't think we really see any teammates in close proximity. You've got Forrester for Fast Banana. His closest teammate is Austin Reedy, who sits back in 6th place. Miranda for Race Team. His closest teammate is probably, if you look all the way back, it might just be either Isaac Mock or Casey Knighton. Either one of them further back in the field. Then you've got no teammates for Harlow for dropping the hammer. His closest is probably going to be either Dakota Curtis or Alex Muscarella, who just got spun for the recent yellow. And then Chris Shoemaker for Prestige Worldwide Racing, who's basically also all by himself in the midst of the top 5. This is going to get exciting.
Well, if you weren't excited prior to this moment, know that we're going to have 20 laps to go as we cross the line. And the 31 of Forrester, the 99 of Miranda, who have been playing strategy cat and mouse all day long, trying to outsmart each other. Well, that all goes out the window now for the remaining 20 laps.
No more strategy from here on out, just straight up racing. Bradley, the key to victory, what is it?
Hit the gas pedal as hard as you can.
Send it. I like it. 20 laps to go from Las Vegas. Colin Forrester, the race leader. Mario Miranda to the outside in row 1. Brandon Banks, Ross Harlow to flank either side in row 2. Pace car is down. Forrester underway. Green flag with 20 laps remaining. And a great start by Forrester keeps him out ahead. Brandon Banks is going to move to the inside as we're almost 4 wide. We're 3 now coming out of turn 2 for the battle further back in the pack. And now we're 3 wide for second. Harlow underneath.
I told you the short run speed of that 3 car, this fits right into his wheelhouse. It also fits into the 54 Bex. These guys know they're fast on that short stint. And if they can get around Miranda, who might have a little damage there from that contact with the 48 car, they've got to take advantage of this now, or that 31 car could run away.
Harlow and Banks made slight contact entering the trial. Well, Banks is going to swap right in front of Miranda and make the pass complete. The 54 Drinkin' Bros Racing Chevrolet up to second place, moves up to the second lane in 3 and 4. It may not be a good enough run to take the lead now with 18 laps to go. Miranda under fire from Harlow. Your top 4 have broken away while Austin Reedy and Chris Shoemaker do battle for 5th.
Just behind them, Sanchez gets by the 30 of Wyatt Brack to put himself in 9th, but he's not completed that pass yet. Almost puts the 30 into the wall as they come out of 2. Now on the back bumper of Shane Wyatt for 8. These guys are going crazy. 5th on back.
Shane Wyatt started 34th, and he is in position to get a top 10. Sanchez washed it up at the exit of 4, but so did Brackett. They're going to remain side by side, but all in the effort of losing time to Shane Wyatt right in front. Banks is getting hunted by Miranda for second, and on-board look with Whittington behind Brackett.
They're going to single file out a little bit here. Miranda was on the back bumper, now has Harlow fighting on the outside line. No changes really here in the top 5. They peek, they prod, they just can't find where it hurts yet.
And it's really clutch now, but you have to imagine it's going to be a 15-lap run to the finish. You have to conserve a bit of tire, Bradley, because if you wash up a little too early in this run, chances of the win, gone. You have to imagine tire saving is a huge, pivotal part of this run for the W. Reedy looked underneath of Ross Harlow for a moment, got the door shut, slides up in front of Shoemaker, who has nowhere to go, and we're single file breakaway through the top 6.
Banks goes up to the high line, takes it away from the 99, allows Harlow the inside, down the back stretch. Contact with the 99 and the 3 cars around. There's the yellow.
And the second time that Mario Miranda is involved in a caution. And his front end is torn up. Spelling the end of Miranda's race from Vegas. Harlow drops to 21st. And as they made contact on the back straightaway, it started with that really, really hard-fought battle coming out of turn 2. Bradley will look at the replay in several moments, but Miranda's car might just have hit the threshold for contact, and his night might be over for the second straight race.
How about the job of the rest of this field to dodge? The 99 came off that wall, and I believe that was the 20 of Herb that had to go to the outside in a last-second decision. But let's ride on board here with the 99, because I think they were making contact out of the exit of 2 before this even began.
Yeah, they were. Here's a look on board with Miranda. So he's in third. Harlow's going to make the effort down low. You can't see him yet until he appears right about there into the frame. He just slid up a little high, got into Miranda, who tags the wall, and then ricochets down the racetrack into the 3, sends him sideways up to the wall. And Miranda, that's where he loses his front bumper. And his toe link on the right front is also torn off. So for Miranda is taking tires. He's going to muster whatever he can. You can imagine Miranda had been so strong for the entirety of the race. So has Ross Harlow. And their chances at tonight's win from Las Vegas is fully eliminated and slashed.
And that's a shame, too, because we were sizing this up for that 20-lap battle. All the different strategies had went out the window. Everyone was on an even playing field, so it was really going to come down to driver talent. And I think based off of what we were seeing on the short run, the 3 and the 54 were probably going to give Miranda and Forrester a run for their money. And then you had like Shoemaker and Smith, who were right on the edge of that battle, waiting for someone to maybe move up out of the line. Shakes it up again, but as these laps progress, we're now going to be less than 10 to go. This sprint got even shorter.
We'll see if we can bring in the driver of the 99, Mario Miranda, who's involved in the most recent caution on the back straightaway. Mario, take us through your perspective. What happened there in that battle with Harlow?
Just battling a guy who doesn't have the speed all race and gets confident when he's in the top 5 at the end. I don't know. I just don't do that. Just door people. It's I just don't. He does it. It's just his personality, I guess. But not too worried about it. We have a long season ahead, so I'll probably make the playoffs and hope he doesn't. But yeah, it sucks being a fast guy all race just for someone who struggles to be in the top 5 to end it for you.
And you had a really strong Toyota Camry. I know Victory Fuel, this is the first time you rep them in the 2024 season. You gave it a run for the money. You were up in the top 5 for most of the contest. You and Colin Forrester felt like inseparable for most of the second stage and now the third. What was your mindset heading into that final 20-lap dash and what you were going to try to do to get the win at the end?
I was going to try to stay second behind Colin, but Banks had a really good restart, so I was pretty content running in third and, you know, trying to save trying to save while being fast while in third place and manage it. And hopefully that the tires near the end with like 5 or 10 to go would balance out and I would be able to make a charge to the front. But yeah, it's really hard to pass here. So I was just trying to stay content in third and was getting pressed from behind and then got wrecked.
So you're out of this race, second straight race that you unfortunately DNF out in a crash. What happens now? What's going to be the recovery like for Bristol Motor Speedway in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I just got to go out to Bristol with the Victory Fuel guys again and try to stay clean, keep our head clean because Bristol can be quite a wild race, especially with 400 laps ahead. So yeah, just gonna drink Victory Fuel and try to get recharged for next time.
Well, we certainly hope Bristol fares much better for you. A crash takes you out, unfortunately, late here at Vegas. We certainly appreciate the time, Mario, and best of luck at Bristol, and hopefully best of luck in the last 15 or so laps, now 10 of this race.
Thank you, guys.
It's Mario Miranda for Race Team. We'll talk to Ross Harlow before we take the green flag restart. Ross, what happened there on the restart leading up to the crash, and what was your perspective in the contact with Miranda?
I don't know. You know, just racing hard, got a little snug coming off of 2, but nothing too excessive, I didn't think. And then, at least from where I was sitting, I mean, I don't want to, you know, talk too much smack, but coming off the corner where I was sitting, looked like he just overdrove it, knocked the wall down, and then, I don't know, it kind of looked like a bit of a Chase Elliott moment. Just the car straightened out, and then suddenly he was turning left into my quarter. But I've seen netcode issues already tonight, so it could have just been a netcode thing, but I don't know, from where I was sitting, that wasn't no accident.
Well, Ross, we certainly appreciate the time. Tough luck there on the contact. Hopefully you can recover in the last 10 laps. Good luck out there.
Yeah, 10-4. Thanks, Kenneth.
Ross Harlow in the 3, getting involved in that incident with Mario Miranda. We're doubled up for the restart inside. 10 to go from Las Vegas. Forrester still the control car, this time with a Chevrolet. on his outside. Pace car is down. Forrester at discretion with his fast banana teammate behind him. The outside struggles to get going. We're back underway from Vegas.
And already the 96 Aridi is going to take advantage of the outside not getting up to speed. And how about that? Eddie Smith up into the 4th position on that restart. He had the run. 2 cars now going to battle with the 54 and the 3.
He is picking his fight, decided to join with the 54 of Banks up top, so gives the run out of the corner to at least stifle any momentous run by the 96 of Reedy. Shane Wyatt dives underneath. Joe Sanchez were wrecking on the front straightaway, and it's Chris Shoemaker. Oh, another contender taken out late.
And he's going to lose the front bumper as well. It looked like 3 wide there, a factor. I didn't get a full view there of the 4 car. We'll take it back a full 30 seconds, but it looked like they were 3 wide coming out of that tri-oval. Yep.
There's the 4 car. We'll step back a couple of seconds to roll this replay, and the 4 was, outside 3 wide. Entering the tri-oval, Jesse Whittington right through the middle. It's hard to argue. Don't think that's really at fault of anyone, Bradley. Just appeared to be a racing incident. Whittington was aiming to hold his line. All of them, of course, racing hard for position inside the top 10, and all that minimal contact is going to left hook the 4 underneath and just slides up to the outside wall. But that's going to be the 3rd car taken out of contention for at least a decent finish or a win in this race. You got to give props to all that Shoemaker had put forth in tonight's effort from Las Vegas. And unfortunately, he's going to be damaged by the end of it.
Yeah, you can't really put that on anyone. Yeah, you could really nitpick and say, well, there's a little room to the inside of the 94, but he's got to give room to that driver on the inside to get the exit that he needs. And really and truly, you're hearing the spotter say in and out. You got to keep that gap and hold that line, and that's exactly what the 94 car did.
Another yellow, this time involving Chris Shoemaker. The tensions are heated here from Las Vegas, and it's not going to get any cooler, even though the track temperature has down to 81 degrees Fahrenheit. So Colin Forrester, after spending most of this race under green like everyone else, now is dealing with the brunt of several frequent cautions. Bradley, is this a level of concern for Forrester here, the amount of cautions that are flying, or is that helping your confidence because that means less laps that you have to execute and more on just holding on while the yellows come out?
Well, I think the scenario here with restarts, he's done well, and the outside line hasn't really got going, so he kind of dictates. He gets to pick and choose where he goes. But yeah, I think lessening the amount of time that these guys have to pass is one thing, but then that one restart could be the difference. And if you're Banks right now, the more chances you get to see how this 31 car is going on this restart zone, the better chances you have of matching that and maybe getting to his outside. So if you're Forrester right now, you have to pay close attention, maybe change it up from time to time, and make sure that you get a good start here.
Colin Forrester will be searching for his first win of the season and looking for his first win since August 6th at Michigan International Speedway, where he was able to pick up the W late in Season 6. That enabled him a championship for a run, and obviously fell short to Lawson Peel at Homestead Miami Speedway. But for Forrester, has the experience of running up front, and we knew at the end of Season 6 with Fast Banana Racing that this 31 car would be somebody to fear. Forrester was always fast out of the gate. Many races where we were wondering what if, and unfortunately he either got caught in a crash or just was not in the position enough to get a race victory, then finally eclipsed it at Michigan. And is the question now, did that open the floodgates, like you've used, Bradley, over the course of tonight, for Colin to take his 2nd career win? While Brandon Banks looking for his 2nd career win and his first since Dover Motor Speedway. He's expressed often how difficult it is to race in this series because everyone is so competitive. And after running mid-pack for the first 2 stages, broke away from everyone else near the final stage, and here he is, outside row 1. Austin Reedy gunning for his first win since Season 6 at Richmond, the third to last race of the playoffs. Eddie Smith, the rookie driver, in position to win his first career race. So is Shane Wyatt back in the 27 car. And then Joe Sanchez, who also has been a contender in this series. Man, Bradley, there are so many storylines spread wide across the top 5 and more so the rest of the top 10. Either former winners who have won or drivers who haven't been able to convert at all, looking for their first or second. And it's going to be a restart inside 5 to go. Does it get any better than this?
Do we ever pick here at the Sunoco Cup Series? It is Vegas. Do we want to take a gamble here, Kenneth, and pick a winner? Because right now, you've only got maybe 1-2 drivers that have been consistently in this top 5 all day long up here right now. Who are you going with?
I don't know. It's going to be very close, but I'd imagine if you're in crunch time and you're needing a driver to execute up front, it may be Colin Forrester. I don't see him falling out of this group. I don't know. I may just have to start card counting to try and predict a win here. Bradley, your thoughts?
No, I think that with the last 2 incidents that we've had, the drivers that were in the top 5 didn't have it in their control. So hopefully Forrester doesn't have the same and he can get the victory. But I think here on this last restart, hopefully the last restart, that 31 car is the one to beat.
We're in a clear consensus. Does our gamble pay off? I have no idea. Here we go. 4 to go from Las Vegas. Our second straight race being decided inside the final 5. Colin Forrester and Brandon Banks to the restart zone. Forrester is out and away quickly. We're back under green. Austin Reedy is going to join his teammate down low, but will it be enough to get past Brandon Banks? Moving up to the gears? No, it's not. Back to turn 1.
Side by side for second position. Still Banks on the outside, Reedy on the bottom. 27 gets a position. Smith falls back a spot. Now another one into the top 5 that hasn't really been here for a while. Cars into the wall off 4. The 55 of Sanchez has the momentum. He can carry into 1. And side by side with Whittington and Brackett.
We were about 3 wide between Whittington, Brackett, and Aaron Adcock entering turn 1, but they remain either door-to-door or fully single file. And as long as Banks and Reedy remain door-to-door, it will allow the 31 of Forrester to pull away, and Shane Wyatt breaks through the middle to 3 wide.
Almost some contact there with Banks, but he gets it up to 3rd by a nose, coming out of 4. Loses a little bit of that momentum, and the defense here into 1 and 2 has been so strong, I think Banks can hold him off here.
Banks is going to use the middle lane and force Wyatt to use less throttle on the bumps down low. Banks holds on to 3rd. Eddie Smith fills in the gap on the outside of Shane Wyatt. The battle between the rookies inside the top 5, while Austin Reedy will look for some headway on his teammate. Colin Forrester sees the white flag, and this race is official.
White flag up in the air, side by side from 10th on back, but this front 4 getting crazy. The 54 to the inside of Reedy. He's going to try to take away this position, but they're going to race side by side, and that pretty much signs off. Our gamble was correct. And the 31 off of turn 4 for the final time tonight. Colin Forrester is going to win here tonight for race number 2 in the Sunoco Cup Series.
Colin Forrester back to victory lane with Austin Reedy and Brandon Banks side by side for 2nd place. And after holding on for so long and dealing with all of the late race restarts and all of the drama in his rear view mirror, Fast Banana gets to victory lane with the Jacksonville, Florida native of Colin Forrester. Austin Reedy completes a Fast Banana 1-2 at the stripe. Brandon Banks, the only DVR driver inside the top 5 with a 3rd place run. Eddie Smith and Shane Wyatt, the 2 rookies to finish 4th and 5th. But the spotlight is on the Dunkin' Donuts Toyota Camry. The first win of the season for Fast Banana, and the points leader out of Daytona will stay up top, this time with a win. And with that, he brings us tonight's Sunoco winning moment. More high-performance racing engines rely on Sunoco race fuels than all others combined. And for over 50 years, Sunoco has been fueling the top race car drivers around the world with high-quality performance fuels they can trust to power them to the checkered flag. Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. Nothing but celebration for Colin Forrester. And you were right, Bradley. The side-by-side action between Banks and Reedy, that was more than enough to seal the deal. And in some way, a mirror image of his previous win at Michigan International Speedway, where he was the leading car. Second and third went side-by-side on the back straightaway at the white flag. And we all know that's lost time to the driver in front. Colin Forrester, the assurance needed to take the victory away and lead the final 20.
And we're talking about 0.04 of a second between second and third position. Reedy just able to hold on there. And then you had the 94 of Whittington try to dive to the inside of Shane Wyatt. There was a lot going on to unpack back there. We'll take a look at it one more time. But you know, deep in this field, it was chaos for this restart. You were trying to get as many as you could, as fast as you could, and that sprint got shortened. We thought it was going to be about a 20-lap shootout, and then it turned into, well, almost a natural green-white checker.
It did. There's Joe Sanchez, Wyatt Brackett. This battle further back through the field as Banks and Reedy went door to door. Hit easily with a run inside. That was Justin Winters, who comes home to finish in 10th. That's the battle for 10th. Door to door, photo finish to the stripe. It doesn't get any better than that. Raced all the way cleanly to the end. And after 267 laps, we do not extend this race past 400 miles, and it's Colin Forrester with the victory. We'll take a short break, but we'll be right back with the unofficial results and more from Sin City. Colin Forrester, the winner from Las Vegas. We'll be right back on VSPEED.
What got into you? At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
Fuller, yeah. Need an F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide. Even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. Fuel your best.
After 267 grueling laps from Las Vegas, Colin Forrester comes out of the Sin City with a huge bankroll and a huge jackpot. We'll take a look at the unofficial race results here from Las Vegas, Nevada, where Colin Forrester, the Florida driver, gets the first win of the season for Fast Banana Racing and holds on to the lead in the grueling last stage, where really you had Mario Miranda, Austin Reedy, Brandon Banks, several key contenders in the mix. Forster, the points leader out of Daytona, will hold on to it coming out of Las Vegas. Austin Reedy makes it a Fast Banana 1-2. We'll talk to those two after our run through the race results tonight. Brandon Banks for Drinkin' Bros Racing comes home in the top 3. And what a spoiler run by Brandon Banks, who started in 36th place, wasn't around for much of stages 1 and 2, but then broke free in stage 3 and never looked back. Pair of rookies in 4th and 5th, Eddie Smith and Shane Wyatt. Jesse Whittington in the 94 comes home with the Lechien colors in P6. Joe Sanchez making it the second Drinkin' Bros Racing Chevrolet to come home inside the top 10. Wyatt Brackett for Fast Banana is in 8th. Aaron Adcock in 9th. And Justin Winters, out of nowhere near the end, comes home with a top 10 for Allen's Legacy Racing.
11 spots going to go to Kip Easley. Ray Rogers in 12th. A couple of these drivers, big gains. 18 spots for Easley, 26 for Rogers. Garrett Brown's going to bring it home in 13th after 14 gain. Justin Erb, a lot of these guys back here, they gained a lot of spots tonight. And 17 up for Charles Feltz. I believe that's what you call a good day at the racetrack, Charles Feltz. And Justin Hendry, 16th. Brad Fulham, 17th. Robert Harrada, I'm going to butcher that one. I'm sorry about that. Henrada, I'm going with that. Isaac Mock, Logan Sturgeon, the top 20.
Behind them, 21st is Bill Schoonover, and then Columbus, Mississippi's Lawson Peel, who had that pit road speeding penalty through the stage 2 run and stage 3, and then just never could recover near the end. Ross Harlow, of course, a heavy hitter, but then got caught up in a crash with Mario Miranda. He comes home 23rd. Dustin Reeves, who was involved in the single car spin that brought out our first caution of the race, is in 24th. Alex Huffman, despite a fantastic beginning of the race, the Allen's Legacy Racing Ford Mustang is 25th at checkered flag wave. Sean Kalis back in 26th. Alex Muscarella involved in a caution inside 20 laps to go is 27th. James Kunkel is 28th, and that is the final car on the lead lap. Then goes Stephen Harlow in 29th. Curtis Kelly to round out the top 30 for Fast Banana.
Still a lot of cars began this race here tonight, and we had about 36 of them left. Looks like Casey Knighton in 31st tonight. Chris Progar, he got leaned on a lot. He'll come home 32nd. Early problems for the 58 of Jonathan Cofield, 33rd. Richard Swavely, rough start to the season, 34th. Chris Shoemaker, 35th. Mario Miranda, the guy that led a lot of laps tonight, 36th. Dakota Curtis, 37th. Austin Shoemaker, 38th. And shout out Steve Stampen. Hope you heal up, but you're going to come home 39th here tonight at Vegas.
All our best wishes to Steven Stampen as he works to heal that Achilles surgery and, of course, recover to come back to Sunoco Cup Series competition. We'll turn to the driver who is in Las Vegas victory lane for the first time since last season at Michigan International Speedway. Colin, it felt like a mirror image of that Michigan race where you took the checkered flag. You were leading on the back straightaway. Second and third go side by side, and that takes you all the way home. How big of a moment does this feel for you, especially after the success that you had throughout the entire race, leading 48 laps on the way to this win?
Yeah, it's definitely probably my most complete iRacing race in general that I've ever had. Just I was able to save tires better than I ever have been. I was able to keep up with Lawson, Mario, and all the fast people. I was able to keep up with them on the long run, short run. Just every time we got near each other, I was able to keep up, and then we were able to get done there at the end. I know Mario had a few incidents. I know Lawson got speeding there. I think they're probably my two best challengers, but I mean, Brandon, Reedy, and everyone else was super fast the whole race too, and the cars are super drafty here on the short runs. So I was really worried about the draft. I mean, probably 2-3 more laps, they probably would have caught me, and I would have been in trouble definitely. But luckily, I had my teammate Reedy behind me, and we're able to get that 1-2 for Fast Banana. And man, it definitely feels good. Long race. Took me forever to get my first win last season, and got here early this season.
It takes you a total of, 3 weeks to get your first win of Season 7, where you blow the door wide open and you almost about dominate this race from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And something that was floating around in my mind near the end of the race, as we saw the cautions come out more frequently, was there any more pressure for you leading the race and having to command the field time after time at a restart? Did you feel any of that pressure? And if so, what was that pressure like?
I mean, definitely. I mean, like I said earlier, it was just a super drafty track. You almost had to race it like Atlanta and just kind of move with the lanes. I mean, you probably saw on the broadcast I was moving up and down on the backstretch, just trying to help Reedy stay side by side with Banks there, because the outside in 3 and 4 is not super great. So if I could get Reedy to be on his inside, and then if they were side drafting each other behind me, I was able to just kind of keep my momentum up better than them. And then obviously the clean air helps, but like I said, it's really like Atlanta almost here on the short runs. But once we get longer, the tires start to wear. You have to lift more. I mean, really on the short runs, you barely had to lift. I was trail braking it. I was probably 80% throttle for about 2 seconds, and then just full throttle both turns. 3 and 4 was a little tighter, but 1 and 2 you could darn near hold it wide open. But yeah, I mean there's pressure, but I was able to manage the pressure well. I knew it was like Michigan, like last year. I knew I was gonna have to hold them off, but luckily I had a few cautions there to get the laps winding down, and then luckily with it being 4 laps, they weren't able to get to me in time. But like I said, a few more laps and they probably would have.
You're rolling in at the right time. This win tonight, you had stage points from stages 1 and 2. You finished second both times. Stages 1 and 2 at Daytona, you also picked up crucial points and ran a lot of laps out front. You came away with the points lead 2 weeks ago at the World Center of Racing. Your teammates are there with you. Austin Reedy, you've got Curtis Kelly, and you also have Wyatt Brackett that are just joining you for just a top 10 streak of fast banana cars that are really dominating the standings as a group. So how important is this win, not only for you, but for the entirety of the team, for Reedy, for Brackett, for Kelly, on the performance that all 4 of you have demonstrated over the first 2 races so far?
I mean, it's super key. Obviously, my teammate Reedy behind me is really helping me a lot there. Like I said, with it being draft track and him just being able to side draft and then run back and forth. But it's just super crucial. Obviously, we have the team standing as well. We want to try and win that, try and get the most points possible. But yeah, it's just super crucial that we maximize our points every race. I know Reedy did good. I believe Wyatt got top 10, I want to say. And I know Kurst didn't have the race he wanted, but I know he still finished okay-ish. Not great, but sometimes you're gonna have those races just in general, and I mean sometimes you're the nail, sometimes you're the hammer for Curtis there. But we all ran a great race. Curtis was super fast on the long run, short runs. He was up there, and we're all just got a lot of momentum as a team right now. We're looking forward to the next race at Bristol.
And I sort of want to ask you, Colin, what's next now? More winning?
Hopefully.
Well, you certainly had one here tonight at Las Vegas. You reaping the benefits of this 48 lap led run and this 267 lap race, and you take your first career win since that stellar run at Michigan last season. Colin, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on the win. We know it was a deserving one. Best of luck for you and the rest of the team heading to Bristol Motor Speedway. But until then, go on and celebrate. You've earned it. Congratulations.
All right, appreciate it, Kenneth.
Colin Forrester manning the Dunkin' Donuts Toyota Camry to the victory here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. His teammate Austin Reedy comes home in second to make it a fast banana 1-2. He's joined by Bradley Cooper.
Austin Reedy, that 1 and 2, you put it on the inside of Banks. You're able to hold him off at the line for 1/1000th of a second. How did you feel coming into this race and then seeing how all these scenarios played out through the stages?
I felt pretty good coming into Vegas. It's one of my better tracks. I have a win here, I think 2 years ago in the series. So, but tonight was kind of a learning experience. I didn't know how to save any tire through the first 2 stages, so we had to figure some things out. But coming to the end there, we had to figure it out. We knew what we needed to do, and we put ourselves in a position to get that second place finish.
Well, in the scenarios, you said you used kind of the first part of this race to learn. How important was it, though, to play defense? It looked like a lot of drivers were just out there driving as hard as they could, but you were able to be on that outside for a lot of this race and hold your track position.
Yeah, the outside, at least early in the race, was really key. If you got stuck on the bottom, there's just no draft on the straightaways, and you were burning up your right front even more down there. But I think during that last stage, the top kind of wore off a little bit, and the bottom was kind of king, and that's where I was running when I was single file for the most of the time. I knew some guys like that higher lane, but I just like sticking down that by that bottom, and I think that paid off for me in that third stage.
And finally, Austin, we're going to Bristol next time, and we got a little week off. How confident is the 96 team coming into the short track realm of the Sunoco Cup Series?
Very good. Short tracks are kind of my thing. I gotten a lot better at them lately and through the last couple seasons. So, I'll be pretty confident at Bristol. But it's still Bristol. You got anything can happen. You're gonna have those big wad ups, those big wrecks. Long race. So just be mindful like we were tonight. Pick your battles and we should be all right.
Well, it's still Bristol. I couldn't have said it better myself. Austin Reedy, before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to shout out for tonight's performance?
All the boys down at Fast Banana. We all had a great night. Teamer Designs and then TJ's team for the sponsors on the car.
Well, there you go. Second place finisher Austin Reedy getting it done at Las Vegas, and we'll take it in a week, well, actually 2 weeks from now, and we'll see what he's got at Bristol Motor Speedway. Thank you for your time, Austin. And now finally, we've got Kenneth Bueno down on pit road with Brandon Banks, the kind of the sneak away here, third place finisher.
Sneaky fast Brandon Banks was at the end of this race. You come home with a third place finish. Brandon, what was going through your perspective in those final laps? I know you were fast in the last 20 and you were always in contention through the strategy, but what was going through your head in those last laps from the final restart and how you were going to try to get to the gun and win this one over Forrester?
I was actually hoping, I wish I didn't have Reedy and Colin lined up against me on the inside. That'd been nice, first off. But yeah, I knew as soon as they got lined up down there, it was going to take a really good restart to stay with them. And then I had to kind of just do my best to side draft Reedy through 1 and 2 to kind of hold him back there. I think I did a pretty good job of doing that. You know, that last restart, I got a little bit too deep into 3 and it washed up just a little bit too far and let Shane get there. I believe it was Shane. And it kind of threw me off. I really didn't have a chance at that point to get back to Colin, but like I said, great job for them. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. Yeah, I had a couple mistakes in the middle of the race, and qualifying was awful. We come to the line to take our good lap, and I hit the grass and got a 1X, so that just killed me starting 36. So had to take our time through the whole thing, and had a bobble in the middle of the race where it only gave me 2 tires, so I had to go back in. Yeah, anyway, so I had to go back and start in the back and do it again. So just being patient and just trying to be there at the end. That was the hardest thing. It was really hard to pass.
And part of getting through there was, of course, all your teammates in the middle of all that. For Drinking Bros Racing, Joe Sanchez, who was running up front for a majority of the race. Your teammate Lawson Peel, who had a pit road speeding penalty midway through the outing, and that kind of allowed you to be their Pied Piper, right? Be their pioneer. Yeah. What was the communications like team-wise as the race came down to the crunch and you were their leader, sort of the de facto leader in which at the end of the race?
Yeah, they were rooting me on. I kind of hate that happened to Lawson. I think he had this race wrapped up. He was really fast, especially after 20, 25 laps. So I hated that for him. Joe, and I think him and Joe just had a bad call in the middle of the race where they stayed out, and I think we had enough gas to get there. So, and I don't think they realized that, and it was just kind of a bad call. But they kind of bounced back pretty good. Joe got back there, and then Lawson was there until that pit road speeding penalty. So, all in all, a pretty good day. I mean, they were cheering me on. I was trying to do everything I could, but just racing against them too, they worked so well together. Even in other leagues that we raced with them, so they're really hard to beat. Anywhere. So, I think I did pretty good just to even finish there. Like I said, I made a mistake there in 3 and washed up, and I think that was pretty much the end of my race right there.
Still, regardless, a great finish, especially after the 15th place running at Daytona. This is going to bring you a lot of great points on the way. And we head to Bristol Motor Speedway in 2 weeks' time after a 1 week off like we have for most of the season. What are your thoughts about Bristol and how you're going to try to prepare for that one?
We're going to try to qualify better. That's what we're going to do. First off, so we're going to put some practice in there and try to make sure we're at least towards the front of the field. It's going to be real important with track position there. There's a lot of cars in this field, so if you get stuck back in traffic there, it's going to be even worse than it is here. So just try to qualify well, and just Bristol's kind of one of those things where you just you got to be good, but you got to be lucky too. So we're going to go in there, and if we can somehow come out of there with a top 10, that would be great.
Well, Brandon, as always, it's great to talk to you. We appreciate the time. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish tonight from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A lot of momentum heading into Bristol. Best of luck in 2 weeks' time, and we'll see you then.
All right, thanks, guys.
Brandon Banks for Drinkin' Bros Racing completes tonight's top 3 from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Well, Bradley, we saw a heap of it all. We saw a lot of the strategy take control of this entire race, and we had a dash to the finish inside 5 laps to go. But the one thing that sticks to my mind when I'm thinking about a way to summarize this race is I can only think of 2 words, Bradley: track position. And for Colin Forster, that's what paid off in the long run, was having that track position. Of course, being fast was one of the factors, but holding on to the top spot in that position was the most important, and Colin Forster gets his 2nd career Sunoco Cup Series win.
Well, and ultimately it comes down to he was able to put his car in the position, and he didn't have the factor of someone turning him or getting into trouble late in the race. We saw that with a number of the guys that have been in the top 5 all day. With Peel, he made a mistake on pit road. With the 99 of Miranda getting turned or getting into contact with the 48 of Muscarella. And that's another race where Muscarella's in a good spot and goes sideways. Really and truly, we're only 2 weeks in. We've got a lot of time for these guys to recover, but you've got to see the trends and the patterns. What can I do personally as a driver? It goes back to that. How can I make these scenarios better for myself as we go to Bristol, where scenarios change so constantly every single lap?
And that was going to be my next question there, Bradley. The casualty list tonight for sure, when it comes down to the race for the win, were Ross Harlow, Mario Miranda, and Alexander Muscarella, as they and the entire field turns their head to Bristol Motor Speedway, a race that Mario has won at before. What's the mindset then? A short track, only a half mile. It's very fast, very quick when you run laps around there. And as always with other short tracks in the schedule, it's basically a breeding ground for chaos.
Yeah, organized chaos, as we like to call it. And VSPEED's seen plenty of racing there at Bristol. We've seen plenty of short tracks on the service, but ultimately it will come down to who can survive the longest. And that track for 500 miles is going to be chaos for sure.
Who can be the real gladiator? That's the question we'll ask over the next 2 weeks. And that's when we will next see you at Bristol Motor Speedway. We'll take another week off and we'll be back on Sunday, March 24th. Be sure not to miss it. It'll be live right here on the VSPEED YouTube channel. We'll go live around 8 p.m. Eastern to bring you all the storylines, any updates, and of course, the entirety of the 500-miler from the fastest half mile on the schedule. That will do it for our coverage tonight of the Sunoco Cup Series from Las Vegas. For Dakota Curtis and the admin team at the Sunoco Cup Series, for Adam Baker for all of his behind-the-scenes work at VSPEED, and for our producer/colleague in the booth tonight, Bradley Cooper, I'm Kenneth Bueno. Thank you so much for watching our coverage from Sin City. Congratulations to Colin Forster on grabbing his 2nd career Sunoco Cup Series victory. We'll see you in Bristol, Tennessee in 2 weeks' time.
And here comes Milo. Big run out of 4. He's going to be there.
Tristan Martin's there. Cannot count out to 37.
Oh!
Burned!
Cabot, where did he come from? Here comes Zwack.
A punch from the 33.
It's a drag race.